in the house.
And welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us. Look who has joined us in the studio tonight. My granddaughter, Cayman, is joining us. She just had a 1-year-old birthday party. And who's squeaking the toy over there? One of the studio dogs is squeaking a toy. Look at her. Cayman just turned 1 on what? July what? July what? On July. Can someone take that from that squeaky toy from the dog? We don't need the dog taking the spotlight off Cayman, do we? No, we do not. The spotlight goes on Cayman tonight. And then we're going to have with us Michael Weiner. Oh, you're jealous, aren't you? Michael Weiner will be with us. Patrick Wood will be with us tonight. Chris Martinson will be with us tonight. Dr. Bashima will be with us tonight. Hedieh will be with us tonight. What a lineup tonight. Here we are on, what is it, July 18th, 2025. Well, that means more. She knows sign language, by the way. She's doing more. You want to do more? You want more? Show them how you do silent. Well, that was, you were just doing it. Yeah, more. Put your hand together. That means more. All right. Can you do 1? How old are you? Show them how old you are. Can you show a 1? Come on. I got to take the pen from you. Show us how old you are. Can you do this? Are you 1? How old are you? How old are you? She does it all the time, except for, wow, oh yes. So how old are you? Are you 1? Let's see the 1. Yeah, clap. You're happy. Yeah. Show us how old you are. 1? Can we do a 1? Come on. How old are you? Mom's asking you how old you are.
How old are you?
How old are you?
1.
1? You are holding that 1 finger up. I did see that. So that passes. That's 1. Do it again. I don't think the audience bought it. Oh, now you want to type on the typewriter, on the computer. Typewriter. Grandpa's like, what? The old typewriter back in my day. All right, you're tearing up Grandpa's notes. But you're not going to show them how old you are? Huh? And that dog over there with the squeaky toy. Maybe she's got a career in broadcasting. She's very fascinated with Grandpa's TV notes. And you like the pen. Yeah. What else does she do real quick? What? High? Yeah, we've done high, and nobody's taking that away from the dog, are they? All right. Can you wave? Oh, you want to push all the Stream Deck buttons over here. Boy, I think you might be a broadcaster in the making. Can you wave? She pushed the Worldview talk bumper. She pushed the button with her, the Stream Deck. Yeah, that's what I do too. I pound the table. Oh, wow. Really? You're going to show that side of yourself on TV, are you? Huh? What are we doing here? Pounding the desk with a pen. Well, I do that myself. The audience hears me do that. Oh, wow. Man. Yeah. Oh, you're waving now. That's good. Now we're waving. Yeah.
Say hi. Hi.
All right.
Hi.
Can you blow a kiss? Can you blow a kiss? Can you blow a kiss? Can you don't put that up your nose? Oh, you're trying to blow a kiss? Oh, you're trying to blow a kiss. What is that about? That's not cute. What's that? You're a little tired. It is getting late. I do understand. She's very tired. She had a very long day. You had a very long day. All right. Well, I wanted to bring her in. Let everybody see her. She'll blow a kiss. Can you blow a kiss? Blow a kiss. No, there's too much going on. Don't shove that down your throat there. Oh, my. All right. I'll give you a kiss. How about that? Ooh. All right. Where's your passy?
He's blowing a kiss.
Oh, you're blowing a kiss? Well, good. Where's your passy? Do we have a passy anywhere? Where's your passy? Don't take your ribbon out. Where's your passy? Right here on. Oh, it's hooked to you. There's your passy. Put that in. There we go. No, you don't want that? All right. Well, say goodbye, Gracie. Say goodbye to everybody. Ooh, so big. Yep, so big. Wave bye-bye. Thanks for stopping by. All right. Scram. Scram. Here you go. Somebody, now you're knocking the phone off, the receiver. You've probably never seen a phone, right? That's a generational thing. Hello. You have no idea what those are, do you? All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. There we go, folks. There we go. All right. So big show tonight. Big show. As I already told you, Bashima Williams, Chris Martinson, Michael Weiner, Patrick Wood. Who else, Logan? That's it. That's a big lineup. All right. That's a big lineup. Remember, we're brought to you by you. Go over there to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, sponsors, and you'll see all of our great sponsors like the Gatatana. Oh, you know what? I think Cayman unplugged my computer. So just come back to me. I think she unplugged our computer. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. There it is. Gatatana, I drink it each and every day. Half a scoop goes to Dolly. Worldview Talk for your satellite phone, your solar generators, your bulletproof backpack. Worldviewgold.com. Find out how to put gold in your IRA. Get a free, no obligation, free packet from Michael Weiner and Wes Peters. We have the Worldview Water. Filter the water. Don't drink the poison, folks. Don't drink the poison. Don't let the government poison you and depopulate the planet. Or make you where you can't have kids, young people. You want to have a child smart like Cayman? My daughter was eating a lot of salmon and a lot of eggs and things when she was pregnant, a lot of brain foods. So don't become where you can't have smart children, you young people. Start now by being healthy. Get your kids healthy, grandparents or wannabe grandparents. Get them healthy so they have smart grandkids. That means drinking the right water that's had all the chemicals filtered out that could actually make them where they're unable to have children. We don't want that. You go back to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Get them all healthy on great products like Swish for Life to detox their cells. So you got kids out there that are now getting married, ready to have kids. Get those girls and those guys healthy so you have smart grandkids. Get them on some of these products as well. Bella Grace as well. Of course, you know, I love Bella Grace. I take that elixir each and every day. So be sure to check out worldviewtube.com/sponsors and keep the program going. I'm wearing my cufflink shirt tonight. I don't always wear a cufflink shirt. But my wife bought me, for Christmas, she bought me cufflinks with a bee on them. And so I just feel like I'm just constantly fooling with these cufflinks tonight. I don't know. The way they stick outside my shirt, I feel like they're coming out too far. So I'm just constantly monkeying with them tonight. I don't know if you've noticed that yet early in the broadcast, but there you go. But my wife gives me a gift. I generally wear it. So she gave me those cufflinks. So there you go. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. We're going to take a quick break, come back. Lots of guests tonight. Don't go away. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Tell all your family and friends that we are on the air right here. I know I was off yesterday. We had some things we had to take care of. But we're back July 18th, right here, right now, live. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, and so much more. Brand Paul will be right back.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity. All from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
Looking for a trusted source to understand today's world through a Christian worldview? Worldview Tube is built on the 35 years of Worldview books, columns, research, and high-profile interviews of Brannon House. Want to know more about Worldview Tube, its founder, history, team, and mission? Visit worldviewtube.com/about. That's worldviewtube.com/about. Worldview Tube is your source for understanding the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
Joining me now is Hedieh Mirahmadi. I'm sure I'm close. I don't know. I'm doing my best. Look, I'm just a dyslexic TV host who's doing good to speak. Jack and Jill ran up the hill. But Hedieh joins us now. Hedieh, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
George W. Bush and I had that in common. We could mangle anybody's name. Just give us a chance, right?
No problem.
Did you ever? I know you met George H. Did you ever meet George W.?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was. I participated. He was the one that appointed me to Afghanistan. I participated in religious roundtables that he did. Very he was a really personable person, like really kind, and looked you in the face and looked you in the eye when he talked to you. I found him to be a very kind person.
Yeah, I did too. I wasn't around him as much as you were, but we met him at the White House after I did a project for the Office of Faith-Based Ministries, and he was very kind to our family and the kids, and very attentive. He wasn't in a hurry. He took time with us at the rope line. The staff used my kids as bait to get him to come off Marine One and walk over, which he did. And he did. He looked you right in the eye, talked to you. We had to try to get our daughter turned around. She was so busy looking up at him, she wouldn't turn around for the picture. And he was very patient with the kids. And no, I found him to be the same way you did. Which
Wait, so you mentioned Office of Faith-Based Initiative. Did you work there with Jim Toohey when it was first established?
Yes, I worked there. I didn't work there, but I did a research project for them. I did a research project for them right after it was established, and then we got involved with Congressman Ryan, the guy that ran the 4-minute mile so fast, Jim Ryan, who spoke for our conferences, his daughter there at the White House. And so they said, when you, in return for doing this project, let us know next time you're in DC, we'll give your family a tour of the West Wing. And they did. And they arranged it for us to meet the president. So he was this is why it's hard to criticize George W., because on a personal level, I like him on a personal level.
Exactly. And he was very sincere and passionate about what he felt was possible in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just unrealistic, but he was very passionate that democracy could bloom and that people just needed freedom. And he really believed it quite sincerely. And unfortunately, it didn't prove to be culturally or historically accurate, but he did believe it. And it's interesting that I find that now when Paula White's Office of Faith-Based Initiative, they say it's the first time it's in the White House, and actually it's not. It's not the first time.
No, it's not.
That was put under W.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, so much has happened since we last visited with you. And by the way, folks, don't forget, she's going to be a keynote speaker at our 22nd annual national conference coming up on October 3rd. That's a Friday night and Saturday. But she'll also be the keynote speaker for our banquet, giving another presentation on that Thursday night, the Worldview Foundation banquet. So that's Thursday night. You'll find all the details at worldviewstore.com. We only have 350 seats for the actual conference itself. So again, you might want to register. It's in a beautiful theater right here in the Mid-South in Collierville, Tennessee. Belongs to our town, and there's only 350 seats. If you want to join our vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, then you can stream it live. But other than that, we'd love to have you there in person. Because there's only 350 people, you're going to have plenty of time to go up to the speakers like Hedieh and visit with them directly. So it'll be a great opportunity. All right, so much has happened since we last had you on. And what is really, of course, heartbreaking are to watch the videos coming out of the Middle East of Druze being slaughtered. And many, like our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron, are saying, but for the Druze, this is their October 7th. Speak to this, please, before we show some video and get into what looks like a lot of Islamists headed toward the Druze community.
Yeah, so unfortunately for the Druze, their religious beliefs are an offshoot of Islam. And so as a consequence, because they believe in a faith that comes after Islam, the Islamists are particularly brutal to them. So it is, as opposed to Ahl Kitab, which are Jews and Christians, people of the book that came before Muhammad, the Druze believe in a divine manifestation of a God that came after. So it's an offshoot of Shia Islam. So the videos that you see also of them shaving their beards, I believe that's a particularly act of humiliation, because they also don't want them to look like Muslims, because outwardly their clothing often is very similar to Muslim clothing. They do not go to the mosque. They have separate places called khalwas, which are centers where they pray, but they're not proselytizing. So they don't accept converts for the most part. They believe you have to be born Druze. So when al-Shara comes into power in Syria after the fall of Bashar Assad, nobody denies Bashar Assad was a brutal dictator. But when al-Shara comes into power, as far as they're concerned, this is al-Qaeda. This is a terrorist jihadist that is going to be as brutal or more brutal than Assad was. So they had no interest in disarming their population or being consumed into central Syria and the Syrian government until they demonstrated that they were truly going to protect this population. So Syria, kind of emboldened by being removed from the terrorist list, HTS and Jabhat al-Nusra were removed from the terrorist list, and they decide they're going to send troops down there to basically stop what they believe to be sectarian struggles between the Bedouins and the Druze. But in fact, what they were going to do is to take control of that territory, where the Druze were not going to have that. And as a consequence, they're being brutally massacred. So for very good reason, they are not willing to disarm.
And is this going to, taking them, this group, this Syrian group off the terrorist list, is this going to end up, this is done by the Trump administration. So is this going to end up being a real foreign policy debacle here? Or is anyone pointing this out, by the way, besides us?
I find it so strange that I went through a bunch of social media clips and nobody's really, it's a blip on a radar. And I would like to describe it as this new axis of evil between Syria, Turkey, and Qatar. These are emboldened, jihadi-minded Islamist countries that now have territories of operation. They have U.S. weapons as a result of the invasion into Iraq and that weaponry being passed over to Syria. And they have the capacity to really fund a large-scale terrorist attack, not only in the United States, but around the world. And I think so many eyes have been focused so long on Iran that people are missing this Sunni axis of evil, which is quite more potent and I think very, very dangerous, especially to us here in the United States. I am not sure what motivated us to remove HTS from the terrorist list. I understand trying to legitimize al-Shara, but I don't understand why we would remove the sub-organization, these jihadist groups that have killed thousands of Americans and Europeans and Druze and Alawites and Christians. Why would we remove them from the terrorist list? I find it abhorrent.
So is it going to, as I said, going to end up being something that whoever did this in the Trump administration is, pointed out, hey, this was a huge mistake. You guys helped precipitate this. I mean, are we one of the only conservative outlets talking about it? In other words, look, guys, let's face it. There are those out there in the Twitter world who are influencers who I think, frankly, in my opinion, are either paid with access, paid with cash, I don't know how, but there seems to be some kind of pay for play. We don't do pay for play here. We don't do it with Israel. We don't do it with USAID. We don't do it with any administration. We don't do it with any of the intelligence communities. We don't do pay for play. Okay. We're an independent news network, which is why our numbers are going straight up, folks, because we just call balls and strikes. All right. So this was a fumble of foreign policy by the Trump administration. And if MAGA people can't handle the truth, then you're at the wrong network, because we're not drones. We are broadcasters. We're journalists. We report facts. Okay. And we said from day one, there are going to be days the Trump administration gets it right, and we're going to praise them. There are going to be days they get it wrong, and we're going to point it out. Is anyone other than this network consistently pointing out this was a serious problem? But we not only have this problem, we're then putting people that are tied to jihadis on faith-based initiatives as well that we've talked about. One guy, I think, did 20 years in prison. Then we've got the handshake with the Syrian president, whoever set that up. There have been several problems here with Islam in this administration. And now we have, of course, a great article by Annie Cyrus on how Islam has basically captured 18 American cities. I know that's a lot, but speak to any of this you wish, please.
Well, so in terms of Syria, removing HTS, I think if there's a terrorist attack in the United States, they could easily say it wasn't HTS, it was ISIS, it was Al-Qaeda in Pakistan. I mean, they could excuse themselves from the connection to HTS by just giving attribution to a different terrorist organization. The problem is we do not have a coherent policy against Islamism. So whether it's in the United States or overseas, we do not have a coherent policy on how to deal with radical Islam. Everything from Mamdani in New York to these conquered cities of America, the article that Annie wrote, to the Epic City in Texas, and our overseas policy. So when Trump goes overseas and asks for billions of dollars of investment in the United States and allows for that to be earmarked to college campuses. That means our policy is not coherent. Here we are fighting extremism on college campuses and then asking the extremists to continue funding our college campuses. That is incoherent. And if we don't have a coherent policy towards Islam, we will fall to the extremists just like Europe has. And it'll get to the point where our hands will be tied. If you see the way that these movements operate, they take over a community, they build mosques, they start to buy the churches and turn them into mosques, they take over city councils, and you end up with places like Hamtramck, Michigan, where the azan is being played out loud at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they have animal sacrifices in people's backyards. In most cities in America, you can't sacrifice an animal in your backyard because it's considered illegal. It's considered like witchcraft and Santeria practices. But in Hamtramck, Michigan, you can sacrifice animals because the Muslims did that for their holidays. And so that kind of sanitary mess, that kind of brutality, whether there's, blood dripping down sidewalks, whatever it may be, we're slowly losing control of the biblical values, which are the foundation of this country, and making sure they continue in cities across America. That's a big problem.
Yeah, it is. Look at this here. Up to 100,000 jihadists are on their way to, or already in Syria. A potential massacre of thousands of Druze and Christians could soon take place. And again, there isn't a whole lot of talk about this on the mainstream corporate or conservative media. Take a look at this, folks. I don't know what's going on with Twitter today, Logan, but it's, I don't know, maybe they're just being hammered, but their feed today is garbage. How can this guy put rockets in the air but not keep a good stream going? It's beyond me. But anyway. There, see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I don't know, but there you go. Let me see if we can fix it again, Logan.
And I think we should point out, if we can pull up the map, I think we should pull up, because people are like, why is Israel, bombing? I thought that was so brilliant for him for Israel to bomb the headquarters, the military headquarters in Damascus, just to let, al-Shara know that they're not going to tolerate a military incursion into this region because of its proximity to Israel and the Golan Heights.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the map. There you go. There's the first map. Talk to us about that, please.
So there's the first map. So this is where the Druze communities are located. And if you see the middle region, you see where Israel is and you see where Syria is, this middle region is the Golan Heights. And so as you move a little bit west, that's where most of the Druze are concentrated. But Israel, as you can understand, because of its proximity, doesn't want to let this become a jihadi capital. He says, you could stay up in Damascus, but if you come down this way, we're going to make sure to stop you. Another interesting fact is that there's a large Druze Israeli population. So they're also defending and have a commitment to defend the Druze because of their own Israeli Druze community. And so I don't know if you watched the videos of the Israeli Druze jumping over the border between Israel and Syria to defend the Druze.
Yep. All right, let's go to the next one, Logan. There's the next map.
Yes. So this is a better explanation because this mountain, if you see at the bottom where it says, I can't see it close up, but that's where it's telling you where the Druze are located. So about 1 million Druze are located in that mountain, which is where Sweda is. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a map that actually says the word Sweda, but it's this Haran mountain region down here in the southwest.
Okay, let's go to another video. This is a video of what is said to be, the internet is overflowing with videos of Bedouin tribal fighters and other Sunni militias putting armed men in large trucks and buses headed for Druze areas in southern Syria. Despite Israel's airstrikes against Syrian forces, a potential civil war is brewing. Here they are being put on these buses. And again, nothing on X today wants to play right. I ask again, how can the man lift rockets but can't have a video player that works? I don't understand that. But anyway, Logan's coming out here to try to fix it. So anyway, let's go back to you. This is civil war. Is that what we're about to see here in Syria?
Well, again, I think it's the the jihadi groups, and they keep calling them Bedouins. I don't know what the purpose of calling them Bedouin is. They're also Sunni jihadi groups, but they're referring to them as Bedouins. So whenever there is this seeming that there is unrest, there the video's playing. The opportunity to kill non-Muslims, and they consider these people particular heretics and apostates, the jihadis jump on the opportunity. And unfortunately, without protection. And so I heard a news report this morning that Israel was going to allow the Syrian central government to come and restore order in this region. So it'll be interesting to see if they do allow that. Because as of yesterday, the Israelis said absolutely no military is allowed in that region. But I heard this morning that was going to change.
Okay, so who's really behind this apparently is the ideology of the president of Syria, a jihadi, right? We have a video of him talking about taking Palestine. So here we go, shaking hands with and praising a jihadi and hoping it'll all work out. But, again, maybe the president, Trump, should have called in a few of us who've been studying Islam, like yourself, Annie Cyrus. We could have recommended many people to tell him where this would have gone. I think, what would you have said if someone, let's say you were in the room and someone said, hey, let's do a picture and shake hands with Jelani. What would you have said? Mr. President, what? ... Tell me.
Mr. President, I really don't think it's a good idea to legitimize a known terrorist that has killed many Americans. I think it would be a bad message to send the American people, and I think it's a bad message to send the Middle East, that we would legitimize somebody that has clearly, he has not denounced the organizations, he hasn't denounced jihadi ideology. All he has done is said that he would, work towards peace or want stability in Syria. And I think he could have accomplished the things he wanted before the Iranian airstrikes, because I really think a lot of what he did in that trip, that Middle East trip before the strikes on Iran, was about Iran. I think he could have accomplished that without shaking hands with al-Shara.
So we're going to get to who's behind this, Turkey, Qatar, etc. But first, we have to understand what's behind this is Jelani's own worldview. Now, folks, listen if you can understand what he's saying. Otherwise, read the transcript on the screen here. This is very important.
والله هي سبحان الله مأساة فلسطين، يعني مهما تعرض المسلمين لمآسي وبرا فلسطين، لكن سبحان الله تبقى فلسطين هي تشعر أن هي يعني تذكرنا على الدوام أن هي بوصلة المسلمين، هي بوصلة تحرير المنطقة. يعني لأنه هي مأساة عمرها صار أكثر من 100 سنة، ولكن سبحان الله الشعب لا يزال صابر، لا يزال يعني اشتغلوا على الشعب الفلسطيني بكل أنواع التهجير، قتل، إبادة، لعب في الأفكار، ثقافات، كل هذا حاولت أن تنزع رغبة يعني أهل فلسطين بالعودة إلى بلادهم، أو تنزع رغبة المسلمين، تيأسهم من الحديث عن القضية الفلسطينية. لكن يقدر الله عز وجل إنه كل فترة، كل عقد، يعني في العقد الواحد مرتين أو 3 تحدث أحداث يتذكر فيها المسلمين أهمية هذه القضية، وأهمية وأنها هي قبلة المسلمين الأولى، وأنها يعني هي واجب كبير على المسلمين بأن يعني يسعوا إلى تحرير هذه الأرض وإلى نصرة هذا الشعب. يعني لأن هذه بصراحة هي قضية مؤلمة يعني، وأنا من الناس الذي عشت يعني طفولتي وشبابي على حب فلسطين والنظر إليها والتفكر بالواجب الذي ينبغي أن نفعله لكي نفعل شيء تجاه فلسطين، وبالحقيقة هي التي يعني وجهتني إلى.
Wait a minute, the path of jihad? Really? I thought this was all conspiracy, Brandon. Yeah, let's keep going.
طريق الجهاد، وإلى من حيث أشعر ومن حيث لا أشعر، يعني بحثت أنه ما هو الواجب الذي يجب أن نقوم به، وأنا مثلي كثير من الشباب طبعا الملتهب لما يجري في فلسطين. كان في ذاك الوقت كان وقت الانتفاضة سنة 2099، فكان سبحان الله المشاهد تدمي القلب. والله هي
speak to this, please, Hedieh.
The Palestinian cause is an opiate of the masses in the Middle East. It is the way that the Middle Eastern regimes deflect their country's woes, their inability to grow economically, providing civil rights and liberties to their people. They basically oppress their people by pointing to Palestine. saying, you look at the plight of the Palestinians. Don't look at what's happening in this country. Your concern, your heart, your treasure has to be concerned about Palestine. It is the way that they deflect from the disaster of their own countries. And it's been that way throughout the Middle East, whether it's Lebanon, Saudi, Qatar, Turkey, no matter where it is, they can deflect the responsibility of being poor leaders by saying, we need to focus on Palestine. And that's, I think, often why there's never a solution that comes in Palestine, because even when at points when there was a desire to have peace by the Palestinian people, I think that bridge is gone. But when there was, before, in the 1980s or 90s, it's the Middle Eastern states that didn't allow that to happen, because they needed to have their failures deflected onto the Palestinian cause. And so I don't think that we could ever solve this problem as long as they're able to use that as a weapon for their people. And that jihadi philosophy is, and Palestine's just one piece of the jihadi philosophy, which is this global expansionist doctrine to basically subjugate and conquer people that don't believe as they do. And so First Step Israel, he mentions it as a Qibla, and that's because the Prophet Muhammad is said to have turned his face to Jerusalem and prayed that way. And so they believe that forever is holy land for them. And so conquer Israel, then move to the West and conquer what they describe as Rome.
And yet, of course, in, 2005? Wasn't it 2005 when all the Jews left Gaza and they could have had their Palestinian state? I mean, they left. And they left them nurseries and schools and hospitals. When I say nurseries, I mean like landscaping, fruit, vegetables, a nursery that would produce food. And they had all of it. And they chose instead to take that land and not build their Palestinian state, but to build a terrorist corridor, and perhaps billions spent, I guess, now on guns and weapons and jihad and tunnels. So how stupid are the people of the world to not realize they had their chance? So stop all this keffiyeh wearing, you stupid college kids, you brainwashed, idiotic morons. They had their chance for a Palestinian state, and they blew it. Even Bill Clinton has said, we were giving Gaddafi everything, not Gaddafi, the leader there.
Yasser?
Yeah, thank you. Yasser Arafat. We were giving Yasser Arafat everything, pretty much everything. And he walked away. Let's get a comment from Hedieh on the other side of the break. Her website is resurrectministry.com, resurrectministry.com. And don't forget, she'll be a keynote speaker live in person Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Of course, she'll be our keynote speaker at our banquet for our foundation on that Thursday night. All the details are, and to register. And by the way, there's no profit in that banquet. That ticket is what it cost us to rent the facility and bring in this amazing food. So again, no profit in that. Hope you'll join us, worldviewstore.com. We'll be right back.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. WorldviewTube.com. Here's another video. I'll just get to it. We'll just get to it. What do you make of what I said before the break? That here we had the opportunity for a Palestinian state in 2005, and they, instead of taking the land and developing the Palestinian state and having a peaceful life, they spent billions on weapons and jihad and tunnels and destroyed their own schools and hospitals and nurseries. I mean, I hate to say it, but even a lot of the Saudi Arabia and all these other countries don't want them because they know they're nothing but trouble. They're trouble to their own people. They are their own worst enemy, but want to blame the Zionists for all their stupidity. And really, I don't know. I don't know if God put some kind of curse on these people or what, but they just cannot seem to get out of the way of themselves. But maybe it's again the demonic religion of Islam, which is spiritually, enslaving them to go after the Jews so that Satan can win, and that the Jews don't cry out, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And there is no millennial kingdom. So I guess we have to come right back to the fact that what's energizing a lot of this is absolutely satanic. True or false?
Absolutely, 100%. So the reason I went through that political explanation earlier is because it's a multifaceted problem. So not only do they have the demonic influence of the Islamic ideology, but they have political pressure from the rest of the Muslim world, leaving them in conflict. So Yasser Arafat could not agree to peace because Saudi didn't allow them to agree to peace. He would have accepted whatever deal they offered if the Middle Eastern states allowed him to. They don't allow him to, or anyone after him, because it is the way they appease their own people. By keeping people's focus on Palestine, they keep their focus off of their own failures. Furthermore, I served in the US government, 5 presidential administrations. I traveled to 37 countries, and every administration, every congressperson, everybody that I met, except maybe a handful, they didn't understand the threat that Islam poses to the West. They didn't want to. They thought it was overblown. They thought it was manageable through money or through economic deals or through diplomatic compromise. And this struggle continues. We see it sweeping across America. We see terrorism continuing. We see the inability to establish peace in regions of conflict where Islam is prominent. It just never ends because people aren't willing to accept that we're in this existential threat with an ideology and people who believe in an ideology that want to destroy us. And I'm sorry, but that's what it comes down to.
Here is a video that's going around. I cannot validate its authenticity, but there are some credible sites that are showing it, so I trust their reporting. And this is supposedly, again, some of the murders going on in Syria. I know it's graphic, folks, but you know what? We need to show it.
Oh, goodness.
And my folks and my friends, this is what they will do to you and your families here in America. They will not second guess doing this here in America when the time is right. As Dave Gobbets keeps telling us, when the time is right, we will have our own October 7th event here in America, I'm afraid. We've been saying that since October 7th. We said that kind of thing, sadly, that we were reporting on that day, we said that's coming to America because they said it that day, in fact, that they were going to do this in America and other places. So we keep showing this so that people will wake up. This is not a video game. This is not AI. This is real life. And this is what the students and the young people and the Marxists are all supporting in the streets of America. I don't see, frankly, Hedieh, apart from a miracle of God, how America does not descend into absolute chaos when you have so much of the country siding with this ideology. And when we already have Annie Cyrus now telling us we've got about 18 cities that have fallen in America. Here it is, the Conquered Map of America by Annie Cyrus at liveuptofreedom.substack.com. What do you make of what we just showed and the warning that this is here? They're here. This is what Sarah Adams, the former CIA gal, is warning, that Al-Qaeda is about to carry out a major strike in America.
You know, it's a very distressing thing. It's been going on. This phenomenon has been going on for a very long time. I had a very bizarre incident where a couple nights ago, where I had a student from the Fuller Seminary here, a prominent seminary here in the United States, especially in Southern California, talk to me about theological inclusive hospitality. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've heard of this doctrine, but it's basically saying we have to accommodate other people's religious beliefs in order to teach them the gospel. And literally, the first tenet of this group is that we have to accept that Angel Gabriel revealed the Quran. And I said, what kind of madness is that? Are you saying that God would reveal a false religion? For what purpose? Or are you saying the angel Gabriel's a demon? Like, how could you say that? And he says, no, we just have to surrender certain ideas to accommodate them. And I said, this is what's wrong with this country, because if the Christians within the Christian community, we can't agree on what's false and what's true, why are you surprised that the green-haired people are saying free Gaza? You know, we internally cannot stand on the principles that Christ the Lord has given us. This is just turned into a doctrine of demons, and we are extremely vulnerable as a result. I mean, my husband's a former police officer. We don't go anywhere unarmed, which is just so frightening that has to happen at this day and age, that our churches are at threat and that we have to have robust security at every church in America. It's unfortunate that the government is not waking up to this so that we could have a more practical solution to the terrorist threat. I'm also worried as a result of all the Epstein madness that, again, the FBI is straddled with these other issues that take them away from focusing on terrorism. I think that's also between the DOJ and the FBI, we had Russiagate, and then we had the J6 hoax, and people diverting the attention, the elites diverting the attention of the FBI. And I think that is also a huge risk for us if we don't have the right resources allocated to terrorism domestically.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. All right. So how does this end for the Trump administration? What do you see coming, and what is the Trump administration? If you were in the White House right now advising him, what would you say to do right now? Particularly when we have this silly comment by, what's his face, Marco Rubio the other night. And we talked about, how did he describe it? As a misunderstanding or something? Let me see if I can pull it up. Marco Rubio, Oval Office. Did you see the clip, Hedieh? Did you see him saying this?
You mean after removing HTS?
Yes.
So he said it was a misunderstanding to remove them?
No, this was after what was the bombings in Israel and the attacks where Israel was going after the Syrian army to protect them. And Marco Rubio claimed that it was some kind of misunderstanding with Israel protecting the Druze and bombing in Damascus. And he claimed it was some kind of misunderstanding. Really? I mean, it's not a misunderstanding. You're murdering people. We played the clip. I'm going to try to find it again.
There's no misunderstanding on the part of Israel. That was sending a strong message to al-Shara that you stay in your box, because we're not going to let you turn this whole region into a hotbed of terrorism, especially not from Syria next to the border of Israel on the Golan Heights.
Yeah, here it is. Here it is right here. Watch this. Get your response to this. He's bringing it up.
long-time rivalries between different groups in the southwest of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track in helping Syria build a country and arriving at a situation there in the Middle East is far more stable. So in the next few hours, we hope to see some real progress to end what you've been seeing over the last couple hours.
So the wholesale murder of Druze is just a misunderstanding, says Marco Rubio.
Maybe he means it's a misunderstanding between who is going to stop it, because he seems to imply that there's a misunderstanding between Syria and Israel. And so maybe we can read that as Israel was going to defend the Druze and Syria had a misunderstanding. They were allowed to send troops there, because the final message of the US was that the Syrians had to withdraw. So I don't know if it was a play on words, but it seems to me that this administration, so not just the president, but the people that he has leading, don't seem to have a very nuanced understanding of jihadi ideology or of terrorism. It seems that everything is about peace and stability, peace and stability. How do you have peace with people who are trying to murder you across the world? I don't like the narrative. I just wish we would have a more sophisticated narrative towards this threat.
100%. Hedieh is at resurrectministry.com, resurrectministry.com. More to come. We'll keep you posted. Great work. We're so glad you're on our team.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Resurrectministry.com. Check it out, folks. Bring her into your church or Bible study, your group to speak. And again, she's going to be with us very, very soon at our Ozarks, or not Ozarks. That's where it was for years. Sorry. Got to get over that habit. Our 22nd annual national conference. You can register. It's filling up. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. We'll be right back after this break.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Someone just walked in the studio during the break. Where are you going? Sweetheart. Logan's girlfriend just walked in, and I'm a big fan of. I'm the one that introduced them. I'm the one that introduced them, by the way. And she won't come on camera. She's very shy. But she's studying. What are you studying again? Stenography. What is? Not stenography? Stenography is like a court reporter, right? And you're studying, what is it? How you say it? Sonography? Ultrasound. And are you almost done, right?
I'm like almost half.
She's almost halfway. She won't come on camera. She's wearing her scrubs. She just come from school and work, and she won't come on camera. She's camera shy. There she is, standing off in the distance. Look at that. You're on camera. You're welcome. She's shy, like Melissa. I had to twist Melissa's arm for 10 years to get her to come on camera. Anyway, That's Logan's girlfriend. She's a hard worker. She's smart as a whip. And like I said, I introduced them, and I'm a big fan of hers. And I was trying to teach her gin the other night, but then she got up and walked away. She got distracted by something. Logan and I got a game of gin, and I'm thinking I'm just about 75 points from beating him. We haven't finished it, but I still have the scorecard. And I think I'm about 50 points away from beating Melissa in our last hand of gin. That's the nice thing about gin is you can just keep track and then come back later and finish. I was trying to teach her gin, but didn't happen. But anyway, she came through the studio. I was wondering, what is it that brings you over here? Why do you stop by the studio? What's here? She came by to say hi to Logan. You didn't come by to say hi to me. Oh, you did. All right. But you came by to say hi to Logan. All right. All right. Well, she comes in through another doorway. So I didn't know she was here. And she came and walked into the main studio during the break. And I tried talking to her to come online on camera to interview her, but she won't let me do that. But she'll doing it from a distance. We'll work on that, though. You'll just come in and wave. Yeah. You didn't bring any of your famous chocolate chip cookies, right? I can't have those now. I'm gluten-free along with Logan. We're all gluten-free now. You're not gluten-free, though, are you? No, not yet. We're working on her. All right. All right. You going to say hi to Dolly? Yeah. She is sweet. All right. Well, one of the days we'll get you fully on camera with an official interview. All right. Thank you, hon. All right, Lindsay, checking in. All right, let's go to our next guest. That's Chris Martinson. Hello, Chris.
Hey, hello there.
How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, there's a lot going on in the world, no doubt about it. Let's talk about first economics. What is this Genius Act? Do you know anything about the Genius Act, by the way?
A little. I mean, it's the Stablecoin Act, and they want to start regulating stable coins and bringing them into the same sphere of regulatory, oversight that the rest of finances enjoy.
Yeah.
Using that term euphemistically, but I mean, they're CBDCs by any other name.
Ah, that's the kicker right there, my friend. They are CBDCs by any other name. So President Trump, did he sign that today, by the way?
I don't know if he signed it yet. It was going to his desk. Congress passed it. So I think he said he would. So I'd be surprised if he didn't, if it's on his desk.
Now, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene voted against it. Did she not?
I believe so, yes.
All right. The Genius Act has officially been signed into law. Here we go. Here's a little video footage I have. Here we go.
It's a very important act, the Genius Act. They named it after me, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you.
They named it after me. Okay, so I look, I don't understand the whole Bitcoin, stable coin. I don't understand all this stuff. In fact, here he is, I guess, signing it. Here's the actual sign. What did it say? It says, Trump signs first major crypto law after making millions of Bitcoin while in office. All right.
This is not an auto pen, by the way.
It's not an auto.
Which is a big scandal. If that were a Republican, it would really be a big scandal. But it is one of the great scandals of our time. Thank you very much, everybody.
There it is. I don't fully understand this. Are we headed toward a central bank digital currency under a different name? Is that what's going on here? Or am I wrong?
Nope, that's what's going to happen here. So let's talk about very quickly a central bank digital currency, a CBDC. People didn't like them because, it introduces something called programmability into money, right? So let's say, Brennan, oh no, you've been a bad boy. You tweeted something out that made somebody at the Department of Education feel unhappy. And they call up their friend over somewhere in the Treasury or finance areas, or maybe at the Fed or some minion in a bank. And then they say, Brennan's money no longer works more than 5 miles from his house. And we're not going to let him buy certain types of things, or whatever. It's this idea is programmable, meaning that they can put restrictions around how, when, and where it can be used, right? And it's not a big stretch, right? Your health savings account, if you have one, already has those restrictions, right? You take pre-tax money, you put it in your HSA, you can buy this, but not that. Well, this just takes it and puts that into the actual money itself. And so very quickly, I'm a kind of I need to understand how stuff works, guys. So what's a stable coin? A stable coin is something that instead of it being a physical dollar bill, would be an electronic thing that would represent a dollar. And they call them tokens, right? And that's what a stable coin is, actually just a piece of coding, a little piece of electronic software that has this little wrapper around it that says this is a dollar and it's worth that. And somewhere, presumably, there's a dollar, an actual dollar held in reserve against that. But then the point would be, oh, well, this is going to facilitate trade. I could take my stable coin and zip it over to you, and it doesn't have to go through a bank, right? I could just share one with you potentially directly, and that makes it all sound good. The problem is that this thing that they call this wrapper they put around a stable coin is called a token. So these get what's called tokenized. Now, it's just a piece of software. So you could have a token, Brennan, that you wrote that says, it's just a token. That's all it is. It describes what's inside of it, right? You could put any asset in there you want. Could be a dollar, could be the mortgage from your house, could be representation for some gold, could be an acre of land. But you put that inside the token, and then you could say, but that's it. Nobody gets to attach anything to that. Or you could say, well, yeah, there's a couple things. You know what, Brennan, I would rather if I sold you an acre of land, I have some deed restrictions on it, so I'm going to create some restrictions that go with the token, and they follow it, and you couldn't sell land to somebody I said you couldn't. And it could go on and on and on from there. Well, guess what? By the time it's the federal government saying, oh, we'll have these stablecoin thingies, and the 5 biggest banks, of course, all signed up and said, oh, we'll make those. Well, first off, you have to have the anti-money laundering, the AML regulations in there, because they wouldn't want anybody laundering money. Just the heroin coming out of Afghanistan, we want that laundered. But, they wouldn't want you going to a tag sale and accidentally spending money without them knowing about it, right? So you have the AML laws, and then, the KYC, the Know Your Customers. These are really onerous laws that include a lot of background and stuff. So those get wrapped in. So this tokenized dollar already has AML and KYC stuff wrapped around it. But, if you've ever opened a bank account, you've probably noticed that it's a big, hefty document, and in there it says stuff like, we can just cancel your account anytime. We can add fees. We can subtract fees. We can do whatever we want. There's all these things. It's not your money once you give it to the bank, right? So then the banks are going to attach all of their own things to these things. So when you get a stable coin, it's going to be like, oh, look, I have a stable coin dollar came onto my phone. I own one of these things now, but you might or you might not, and it's going to have guaranteed, full-on guarantee. You're going to have less financial privacy under this than at any point in time. And that was the big deal around CBDCs. Somebody can tell you what you can and can't do with it. They could take it away from you at a flick of a switch, and you'll have no privacy whatsoever. You couldn't possibly spend a stable coin on an old Beanie Baby at a tag sale without the government saying, well, you owe state and federal taxes on that transaction, right? So that's the whole point behind this whole thing. And I'm highly skeptical of it. This is not a genius act. This is really a bad day for financial privacy and freedom. And
listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say about it. Here we go. Here she's talking about it.
The Genius Act, President Trump wrote an executive order on January 23rd, and specifically on exactly what the Genius Act is about, except they did not include what was in his executive order, which is a ban on a central bank digital currency, which is extremely important, and the president feels it's important, and that's why it was in his executive order. And the Senate left that out. And then they sent this over to the House, and Speaker Johnson didn't allow us to do amendments to amend the bill to ban CBDC. And that's a House issue. It's not, I fully support the president. I will vote for the Genius Act when they ban central bank digital currency in the Genius Act. So we need to get it right. It shouldn't be run through and us forced to vote on something that they take away our right to amendments.
All right, so Logan, can you check and see? Did it get banned? That was July 15th, I think, was that interview. I don't think it got banned, did it, Logan? I don't think it did.
Well, they have a separate act they're trying to push through that would ban a central bank digital currency, but it's a distinction without a difference, right? The whole point is, well, the Fed isn't administering these digital currency accounts for you. It's Bank of America. And by the way, they have all the same stuff. Like the reason I wouldn't want a central bank digital currency is because it allows somebody at the government level to just reach in and flick a switch and literally turn your light off on your life, right? We've already seen all the debanking stuff that's been happening. The banks are already doing this to lots of people because they had the wrong ideology, or, they just didn't like who they were. They had some sort of political risk associated with this person. Lots of people, Nigel Farage, we heard about that, but I mean, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people have been debanked. Well, now this just gets easier because it's just a digital flick of the switch at this point in time. And the money that's in your account, it's not like you could just go and take it out, like you take your digital coins out and go spend them somewhere else. They will have that instruction that you've been debanked attached to them electronically, potentially, right? So this is just, it's dystopian. It really is. It's just not, it's just a bad day for economic freedom.
And there's an article on Forbes about it. They signed the bill, and that, what are the bill? What are in the bills? What is the Genius Act? Mm-hmm. Okay, what is the Anti-CBDC Act? It would prohibit the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, which critics say could facilitate financial monitoring surveillance by the federal government. House leadership agreed to attach the bill to the National Defense Authorization Act, must pass legislation that funds the Department of Defense to meet demands of conservative holdouts who wanted all three bills combined. Okay, it would divide regulatory jurisdiction for digital assets between the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and the Security Exchange Commission. The bill would establish definitions of three types of digital assets: security, commodities, and stablecoins, and assign regulatory duties to each agency. 13 Republicans blocked the crypto bills, including Representative Anna Polina, Chip Roy. Are we going to see Marjorie Taylor Greene's name in that? Yep, Marjorie Taylor Greene. They vote against the initial procedure motion Tuesday. Representative Steve Scalise, who supports the bill, also changed his vote to a no to allow him to reintroduce the legislation later. They ultimately changed their votes when the Anti-CBDC Act was merged with the NDAA, that'd be the National Defense Authorization Act, resulting in a 217 to 212 vote to advance the bill. Okay, so it looks like the anti-central bank digital currency was added to the NDAA, so they went on. So, I don't know. But at some point, we've got to be concerned, right, about this legislation being changed. In other words, the bottom line is, you and I are both concerned, or as others, we're going to end up with a central bank digital currency in some name or some form at some point, right?
Well, absolutely. So look, whether we call it a central bank digital currency or a Bank of America administered stablecoin, the concern is about the features and the functionality and how those can be politicized and weaponized, right? Rather than who's administering it. So I'm a little disappointed. It sounds like, the name that's caught them. Oh, it's administered by the Federal Reserve. Wouldn't want that. But what we're really caring about, obviously, is that the federal government would come in and run its usual hijinks. So I'm a COVID warrior. I got deplatformed. That I got shadow banned. I put up with a lot because I ran afoul of these misinformation, disinformation laws. And we found out that these private companies like Google and Facebook and Yahoo and YouTube and all the rest, and Twitter at the time, were all participating hand in glove with the federal government, who, of course, can regulate them. So, of course, they have some interest in that. And they said, hey, Chris is a bad boy. Let's detune him. Let's ban him, among many others, not singling myself out, but just, making the story here. And so we're supposed to believe that Bank of America won't, in this administration or some future administration, find out that administration is really angry with people for saying something off script from the narrative they want to run, and using that to reach in and have Bank of America strip away my money from me, right? And so that's the concern. And so nothing in the Stablecoin Act that I saw had anything in there that said, this is how I would have written it. I would have said, it begins with the idea that a person who has expended some of their life energy to accumulate what we're calling money, call it a stable coin, a Federal Reserve note, whatever, I don't care, that once they've done that, it is theirs and they have these rights enumerated to that money. It cannot be taken away at whim. It cannot be right? Mm-hmm. Nope, none of that. It's all about, well, we're going to have to control this and know that, and here's all the penalties, and this is what has to happen. And by the way, wouldn't you know it, hidden in the Genius Act is the requirement that anybody who's backing their stablecoin with something has to use U.S. Treasury notes.
Whoa, hold right there. More, peakprosperity.com is his website, peakprosperity.com. And you can also follow him on X at Chris Martinson, at Chris Martinson. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Grace Elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. WorldviewTube.com. Chris Martinson is my guest at Chris Martinson. He'll be one of the keynote speakers at our 22nd annual national conference coming up Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. We only have 350 seats in the auditorium. Beautiful, beautiful theater in our town here, Collierville, Tennessee, owned by our town. And again, only 350 seats, which really is a good deal because now that means you're going to have great access to all these speakers to walk right up to them, talk to them, visit with them, Chris Martinson being one of them. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Get your tickets, reservation, the hotels to stay in, everything. WorldviewStore.com. It's our only event to do. We have no public events planned outside the studio right now. So again, if you want to come and be a part of this, we'd love to have you be with us. WorldviewStore.com. Okay, Chris, tokenization. That's my concern. By 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy, says the World Economic Forum. If you start tokenizing land, our government buying land, minerals, all these things, whether that's the minerals that we're grabbing from Ukraine or anywhere or in the US, all of a sudden our $37 trillion looks like nothing. We got $100 trillion in assets on our books, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, maybe they're gonna finally go and audit Fort Knox. I don't know what happened to that. That just kind of went poop into the memory hole. But then they reset the dollar at, they reset the price of gold per ounce at $3,500 an ounce or whatever from what is it, $37 or something. Then all of a sudden, boom, that's on our books too. I don't know. What is with this tokenization thing? What is your concerns for all the people out there that have worked their whole life to pay off their home, to be debt-free, and they don't want their mortgage tokenized? Do they have to worry about it if their house is paid off? Or what if there is, I don't know, let's just think outside the box for a minute. What if the objective is, tell you what, you got a house that's sitting there that's worth, I don't know, let's just say $300,000. You got a $300,000 house. You can't do anything really with that money that's in that house. But if you agree to allow us to tokenize your house, now you can tap into it like a line of credit. Which some people have an emergency line of credit on their house that's paid off because they want an emergency line of credit. I don't know, whatever kind of gimmicks they could come up with. What do you think will happen to someone that worked their whole life to pay off their house when it comes to trying to put assets on the books? And what kind of gimmicks might they use to get you to allow them to tokenize your house? Or will you maybe not have a choice? They're just going to take your house that's paid for and put it on the government's ledger anyway. I don't know. I mean, I could see where they're going to do this if they kind of basically federalize the banks, right? And now all of your local banks are just pushing paper for the feds. We talked about that with FedNow, when that wallet, FedNow they were talking about. And now you basically, everybody has to have a Federal Reserve account, right? And your local bank is the one just pushing the paper for the feds. So if you have a loan on your house, maybe you don't have a choice. We have a financial crisis. They federalized the banks. Now your note is on the ledger, and whatever equity you have in your house is now on there ledgerized. And who knows what can happen? I don't know. I have no idea how they're going to try to rope people in with mortgages and non-mortgages. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that because Larry Fink is all for it, I'm against it just automatically, because he exists to just steal things from people, right? That's his whole MO, right? And so Wall Street is really for this whole thing. So what tokenization means, again, is to take an asset and park it in this little digital capsule of some kind, right? And so there's coding around that. And by the way, they're very complicated, right? So a typical token probably gets wrapped in around something called a smart contract, right? And smart contracts have all these different sort of legal provisions and all this and that. And frankly, it's beyond me, but I understand it in the sense that I did this whole work around the great taking, which is most people don't know that if you own a share of stock, you don't actually own the stock. What you own is what's called a security entitlement, which is a legal wrapper. That's like a token. It's a representation of the fact that you have a right to ownership of this share of stock, but you don't actually own it because it's sitting over here on somebody else's books, right? So that little bit of legal distance that's created between what you think you own and the actual asset creates a condition where, under the right circumstances, like a big market meltdown, the keepers of the system, because it's an emergency, and it's always an emergency when they do these things, they swoop in and they cleave that representational ownership and say, yeah, we're going to need this to keep the system together. Sorry for your loss, right? And so this whole idea of tokenization simply means that we're creating highly complicated legal abstractions that's now put a buffer between this thing we think we own, which is our house. I go to sleep in it. It's here. It's got 4 walls. But, it's got a mortgage on it, and the mortgage has been tokenized. And oh no, there's different companies that now own representational pieces of that because they've carved it up and sold off chunks of it. However they're going to work that stuff, it's just more complexity. It allows Wall Street to do what it does best, which is to convert all that complexity into cash in their own hands. But of course, their gain is your loss, because that's just how it works, right? It's a zero-sum game. Somebody's winning, somebody's losing. Welcome to Wall Street. So that's my concern about it. It's super complicated. None of these people in Congress, they don't understand this. They didn't write that act. That act was written for them by a bunch of bankers who have interests in this whole thing. It's just like, our pharma bills are not written by congressmen. They're written by the pharma companies. That's the game. And I'm very suspicious of it. But here's my bottom line. Anything that is so complicated that I can't understand it is just a way for the raccoons in the system to take my stuff from me. And that's just what they've been doing for decades.
What about, though, if you work your whole life to pay your house off and you don't have a mortgage, does that make you more protected or not?
I would think it would make you more protected, but then you might want to have to explore the complexities of, do you actually have your title? And then there's different forms you can hold your title in. So again, possession, I think, is 10/10 of the law in this case. And so I advise everybody, regardless of whether you have, ETFs held by Vanguard, individual share ownership in a Schwab account, money down in your bank, or anything, your mortgage, keep paper records of it. Keep a printout, a snapshot that says, this is what Schwab said I owned on this date, and then update that regularly, because if we ever get in a thing where there's some kind of a cyber attack, a hiccup, the grid goes down for a while, their servers go bad for some reason, AI writes some malicious code that spirals through and worms off and makes a mess of everything. You're gonna need to be able to prove what you have, and you won't be able to go into your phone and say, look, here's what I have, because it won't be there anymore, right? Paper records.
Paper records. So if you've worked your whole life to pay your house off, have a physical copy of the deed that's paid off.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And
real ink signatures on it.
And with obviously probably the stamp from your county or whatever, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I guess what I'm trying to say in closing here, Chris, is a lot of our audience is very conservative, socially, morally, politically, economically. And a lot of people just have worked their whole life because they want to be debt free because they don't want to try to understand all this. They want to sleep well at night and say, you know what? My stuff's paid for. And I guess I hate to see people work their whole life to pay stuff off, to be debt free, to be find out later that somehow their nest egg, be it their house or whatever, just got tokenized. I don't know. If you do that, I think you got a civil war. I think you got a civil war. That's my opinion, because I think there are a lot of people in this country that work very hard for what they have, and they're not about let the crooks and the banksters steal it from them through some scheme known as tokenization, right?
Isn't this what I totally agree. And it's immoral, by the way, and it's wrong and it's evil. But what did we just learn with the Epstein case, right? We learned that there's some sort of a force that's larger than Washington, D.C., larger than Trump's desire to do the right thing, or Kash Patel or Dan Bongino. There's some force that says, look, the elites have this other moral code and it allows them to do some really heinous things, but for reasons we can't hold them accountable for any of that stuff. These are the same people, these elites, that we're going to trust that they're going to create a tokenized system that somehow maintains our ownership structure in a fair and equitable way. That's not who they are. They don't think that way. You think that way. Your listeners think that way. I think that way, but that's because we're normal, decent human beings with ethics and a moral code. That's not what we're talking about here. That's what we just learned.
Yeah, very concerning. Because again, a lot of people have played by the rules, paid $1 gazillion in taxes through their life, paid into the scam that's Social Security. They paid off their house, their little farm, their bug out place, whatever they've worked for. And I have no patience for thieves and criminals. I have no patience for thieves or criminals. I really don't. And we know the biggest thieves and criminals are coming out of Washington, D.C., the federal government. And
absolutely.
It concerns me that people that have done the right thing, been responsible. You know, the Bible says that the borrower is slave to the lender, right? And I'm thinking to myself, but if you've worked your whole life and paid it off, live within your means, surely this will be the safeguard where other people are being taken for a ride by the government, but you're sitting over here with your little nest egg because it's walled off because you have no debt. There's got to be some way to make sure that we're vigilant for our audience, to make sure that our audience isn't having their assets stolen. I mean, if you get yourself in debt and you're over your head, you know, it doesn't mean you should have what equity you have in your house or anywhere else stolen from you. But if you've been one of these people that's been really careful your whole life and you've not done the, you know, exorbitant living and beyond your means and all that, these people, they just want to be left alone. They just want to own their stuff outright and be left alone. And I know there's probably a small percentage of the country left now, but maybe it's not as small as I think, actually, the more I think about it. And I just hate to see those that have worked so hard have their stuff tokenized and stolen. And if the government tries to do that, you know, it's like Winston Churchill said, it's better to perish than to live as slaves. And I think there's a lot of people saying, look, I've put up with a lot of garbage out of Washington, a lot of theft, a lot of corruption, progressive income tax, the scam of Social Security, but I finally got a little house and maybe some land paid for. And if you guys try to come after this, it's on. It's on.
Yeah. A good friend of mine just told me this story about when he's in college, and he was on the rugby team. And they were after a game, and they're like 2:30 at the one place that's open. It's a burrito shop, and they sell beer there, so all the college kids are there. And they have the center on the rugby team, big guy. And he just wants to eat his burrito, but there's this little drunk guy who just wants to pick a fight with the biggest guy. And Dave is eating his burrito, and he looks up at the guy and says, you don't want to do this, you know? And the guy keeps on him, right? And he said, finally, Dave just goes, oh. And he wraps his burrito up carefully, and he hands it to somebody. And then pounds the living daylights out of this guy. Like 2 shots, the guy's out, he's moaning. He comes back over, he takes his burrito back, and he unwraps it, starts eating it. So that's the quiet man, right? And I'm just wondering, when are we going to get to the wrap the burrito moment? That's what we're headed towards.
And you know, what you're talking about is consistent with the polling coming from Mark Mitchell at Rasmussen. a fourth turning. I don't want a civil war, but I would be for a civil war over tyranny, because as Winston Churchill said, it's better to perish than to live as slaves. If Washington is going to become this great technocratic, tyrannical system run by the banksters, I don't care if they call them freedom cities or whatever stupid name they can give it to fool the average, person in America. If it's about stealing liberty and freedom and the inheritance of my children and grandchildren, then bring it on. My home, my Alamo. I've been saying that to my audience for years. My home, my Alamo. My home, my Alamo. Right?
Well,
you can kill the body,
bill,
but you cannot kill the soul. Right?
Correct. Yeah. So they're considering a bill right now that would give Monsanto the same liability shield that it would give to pharma companies, because Monsanto is getting sued for all of its Roundup and all the cancers it's caused with its poison product. And they're actively considering the bill. In a healthy country, they would say, absolutely not. You do not get a liability shield. Make a better product, right? Can you imagine if we gave liability shields to car companies, ladder companies, crib manufacturers? Like, that would just be, no, you don't do that. Why would we do that? Why would we even think about doing that? And it looks like it has a good chance of passing. And that just tells you where we're at.
That's ridiculous.
It might be time to wrap that burrito up.
Yeah. Chris Martinson, peakprosperity.com. Peakprosperity.com. As always, look forward to having you with us at the Ozarks conference. Or not Ozarks.
Me too.
I keep saying that. For years we've been in the Ozarks. We moved it to the Mid-South.
Tennessee.
Yep. Right outside of Memphis, Collierville, Tennessee. Look forward to having you with us in October.
Can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Chris Martinson checking in. There you go, folks. Peakprosperity.com. Peakprosperity.com. You can follow him on X. Chris Martinson. Make sure you spell Martinson. Spell Chris with a C, and then Martinson, Martenson. All right. All right, folks, remember, we're brought to you by you. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. So important you go there. Help us out and yourself at the same time. Thank you for doing that. We'll be right back after this short break.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. All right, joining me now is Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news. Technocracy.news. Let's talk a little bit more about the Genius Act, but also I got to bring this up real quick. Apparently, look at this, folks. United States, this was dated yesterday, July 17, 2025. United States Army Special Operations Command, duty to warn notification. This message is to inform you of a recent duty to warn notification regarding a potential terrorist threat targeting, listen now, retired senior officials who previously served in the Department of Defense with roles in the Syria, Iraq theater. The current geographic focus of this threat is Florida. Right? Any of you know any retired military people that had any involvement in the wars in Syria and Iraq? I do. While this threat does not directly target active duty personnel, we are issuing this notice to reinforce the importance of vigilance and situation awareness. We encourage all personnel to remain alert to their surroundings, both on and off post, and to report any suspicious activity to appropriate authorities. Now, this is interesting, because apparently, according to Sarah Adams, who we've been following, apparently she says today, or yesterday, Al-Qaeda leader Hamza bin Laden approved the assassination in November of 2024. It's nice of our government to finally start telling people there's a threat. Oh, yeah, and there's been surveillance in Tampa, Florida. Welcome to the party. Folks, why are they waiting till now, July 17th, which was yesterday, today's July 18th, but yesterday, July 17th, to put this out? There are a lot of threats right now going on in this country that are not being talked about. We talk about things so far ahead of the curve, as you know, oftentimes years, but certainly oftentimes weeks and months. And we've been warning about a major terrorist attack coming by Al-Qaeda, and you see what Al-Qaeda/ISIS is doing in Syria, right? But who's talking about the bin Laden boys? Here's another one, July 18th, that's today. New evidence of Obama administration conspiracy to subvert President Trump's 2016 victory in presidency. Tulsi Gabbard put this out today. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, revealed overwhelming evidence that demonstrates how, after President Trump won the 2016 election against Hillary Clinton, President Obama and his national security cabinet members manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. Well, I thought this was conspiracy. No. Let's see how this all gets dealt with. Now, let's go to this article. DEFCON 1. Technocracy being launched right now by Trump administration. What? Wait a minute, what? Technocracy? How so? Joining me now is Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news, Technocracy.news. Patrick, welcome. Thank you for joining us this Friday evening by phone. Why are you putting DEFCON 1, Technocracy being launched right now by Trump administration, at Technocracy.news? What has happened? Inform our audience, please, Mr. Wood.
Well, number one, the Genius Act is signed into law now. There's two bills behind it, the Clarity Act as well as the Stable Act. The Stable Act has been passed by the House. It's certainly going to be passed by the Senate. The other bill is coming right before it, and it will likely not have any opposition as well. So at this point, these three bills are the tumblers and a lock for stable coins to be replaced, or to replace the concept of central bank digital currencies. This has been a stunning development in the last 6 months when President Trump first signed an executive order to prevent the Fed from creating central bank digital currencies in the first place. However, the whole process has been privatized at this point. They've passed legislation, thank you to the House and the Senate. They've passed legislation to make it all legal now. They've changed the regulatory structure, if you will, to take care of stable coins outside of the former regulations that were in place. And at this point, this has been a clean sweep of implementing like the equivalent of a central bank digital currency, trackable, enforceable. It's everything that China would ever want to have in their social credit scoring system, I'm sure. But at this point, this is the fait accompli for technocracy.
Now help me understand something, though, Patrick, because Yahoo Finance is reporting yesterday that the House passes anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, blocks digital dollar rollout. They say the House of Representatives has officially passed the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, a sweeping bill designed to block the Federal Reserve from issuing or testing a central bank digital currency without explicit congressional approval. The move signals strong Republican resistance to what they view as a potential tool for state surveillance. So what do you make of this, though?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think this has been a sham from the get-go. consider this. Who owns the central bank in the first place, the Federal Reserve? Well, it's the major banks, just like Citicorp, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, et cetera. These are the banks that already control the Fed. Okay, so who's behind all this stablecoin nonsense? It's the same banks. And, you know, whatever they tell you on one hand, oh, we're all against the central bank, the Fed. We don't want the Fed to do this, but we'll do it on a private basis, and it'll be okay. You'll see. I don't buy that at all. This is the sham, I think, from the get-go. And you'll see at some point when all this regulation gets shed against the digital currency on one hand, you'll see another superstructure erected with this new stablecoin behemoth, crypto-based, blockchain-based, whatever. And this is going to be the currency of the future for America. Trump has been very vocal about this, by the way. He says he wants to make America the crypto capital of the world.
So when the bill, which was introduced by Representative Tom Emmer, Republican of Minnesota, prohibits the Fed from directly or indirectly issuing a central bank digital currency to individuals, as outlined in the bill, a Federal Reserve bill, quote, shall not offer products or services directly to an individual, end quote, nor, quote, maintain an account on behalf of an individual, end quote. Okay, so I don't know. What are they going to have to change the wording, or is the wording deliberately such that they can get around it? Because it says a Federal Reserve bank, quote, shall not offer products or services directly to an individual, nor maintain an account on behalf of an individual. So is that wording going to be changed, or is there wiggle room in that wording?
No, this was a threat 2 years ago when we first started to study what the central bank digital currency would do. There was a threat. Well, it was more than a threat. The central bank said what they wanted to do is allow Americans to open an account directly with the Fed, right?
That was called Fed Now. That was called Fed Now, and we showed the big PDF on how, and said everybody's going to go get their own Federal Reserve wallet. And I would say to the audience, how many of you are doing business directly with the Federal Reserve now? How many of you have a Federal Reserve account? None of you have a Federal Reserve account. Your bank does, but you don't. But under Fed Now, you'll have to have a Federal Reserve wallet, this Fed Now. That's what we were talking about then, right?
Yes. The Fed is prohibitive at this point of opening accounts with consumers, Americans in general. Now that the whole process has been privatized, okay, forget the government, forget the Fed at this point. The whole process has been privatized with this new thing that they're working on, like the crypto czar and the other people in the government that are architecting this new stablecoin system. This is privatized system, has nothing to do with any regulation against the Fed at this point. However, we've seen this in the past where if they're prohibited from doing something in the first place, they hand it off to somebody in the private sector to do it, and then they take it back when it's time. This is exactly what we're going to see in the future. When this system is put together with all its regulations and whatever features it has to track people and everybody in sight, then the whole thing probably will be handed over to the Fed again as the manager. But the Fed will at that point, they say, well, we didn't do it. We didn't do anything about that. You handed this to us to be the managers. We didn't do this in the first place. And so the Fed will escape any liability in that part, and they can be end up in the position of being not the sole, but the controllers of the whole system. And remember, the Federal Reserve is owned by the largest banks in America in the first place. People like banks like J.P. Morgan, Citicorp, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, et cetera. These are the principal shareholders in the Federal Reserve. It's not a government organization at all. We've known this for years. This is not a conspiracy theory, believe me. But these are the people who are in control of this privatized system at this point to create another alternative currency, and it'll be trackable. It'll be used by, for instance, Real ID. It'll be wrapped into all the other financial transactions in the world that we have, like on a stock market and bank systems, etc. And at that point, well, they're going to have their cake and eat it too. But we'll look back on this a year or two down the road and say, well, no, the Fed didn't do it, but these other banks did, and the Trump administration did. The crypto people in the Trump administration, all these technocrats that were invited in, like the crypto czar, for instance, David Sachs. These people will be viewed as architecting this whole system, and at that point, people will wonder, gee, what happened here? What happened to the long-range program that the central bank had in place in the first place? And remember, no other central bank, except I think one or two in the world, has a central bank digital currency at this point. Everybody's in the research mode. They've been in the research mode for at least 5 years at this point. Nobody's cracked the nut. So the technocrats obviously have taken the bull by the horns. Forget the central banks. You guys are a bunch of, clowns. You can't, program your way out of anything. And they've taken over the process to privatize it as if it were a startup in the first place, startup company in the first place. When they're done with it, they're going to hand it back to the Fed and the other central banks around the world, and they say, you guys manage this for us, but you're not going to claim any responsibility for having done it in the first place.
So this is corporate fascism. Big government, big business. Big government, big business, working in cahoots together, whether it's the CIA that I think helped start Google or any of these other companies. You always see the big government and the big business. And so what you're saying here, you've articulated, is look for business to be the enforcer for the government. Kind of like we saw during COVID, right? And
yes, exactly.
During COVID, it was a lot of the businesses that were enforcing these things, not the government.
Well, exactly. Case in point, when Fauci et al. Wanted to conduct gain and function research that was patently outlawed in America, they could not do that under penalty of fine and jail and everything else. So what did they do? They farmed it out to China. China's not our jurisdiction at all. So the trail was like this. Well, we didn't do it. You follow the science. We didn't do it, but the Chinese did it. And then they claim, well, it was just a stroke of bad luck, whatever. And they perfected what we started. Well, this business of handing off the unpardonable or the unmentionable things that they don't want to deal with to private organizations, at that point, when it's perfected, then it gets handed back to the government entity in the first place.
Now, you linked today at Technocracy.news to Crypto Week Exposed, the tokenization tyranny unleashed, reclaiming free will in the face of backdoor CBDCs, biotech, accelerationism, and the technocratic takeover. Okay, these are two hosts that are talking about it. I'm assuming since you've linked to it, you've listened to it. Give me the Cliff Note version. What are they saying? Or did you just tell me what they said?
Well, I'm pretty much, I just talked about it. I've listened to this thing twice already today. It was packed from all sorts of good information. The people that she's interviewing are very sharp people. They're not just conspiracy theories. They're not just buffs, talking from out of their mouth. These are pros in the field, and they understand crypto. They understand finance. They're in the field. They're dedicated their life to the field. So these are not nutcakes, and they understand technocracy. They talk about it incessantly in this video, I have to say. They probably were informed by my writings in the first place. That's my guess, because I've been writing about technocracy for over 18 years now. And but in any case, they get the picture. And they've cracked this business now of privatizing the financial system. They've done it in 6 months. That's just consider that Klaus Schwab couldn't get this done in 10 years. They've done it in 6 months at this point. That's stunning. Now,
here's what you wrote. You said you wrote this on your website. I've warned about technocracy for almost 20 years, including 3 books, thousands from articles on technocracy.com, and countless media interviews. Now it's too late to stop it. We've just passed the point of inflection where technocrats have seized control of the Trump administration. Trump's legacy will go down in history as Trump the technocrat. Yes, he was more than just complicit. He chose J.D. Vance as vice president, an acolyte and creation of arch technocrat Peter Thiel. He appointed these technocrats in the first place who are swarming around Washington, D.C. He signed the enabling executive orders and the legislation like the Big Beautiful Bill and the Genius Act. He's driving the adoption of cryptocurrencies to replace central bank digital currencies and the campaign to get everybody outfitted with wearable tech to collect biometric data. He's brought in AI to run the government through Doge and signed a contract with Palantir to turn all government data into a Sauron-like panopticon. Is that panopticon? Is that what you mean? Panopticon? I know I will get massive pushback from Trump supporters for calling him Trump the technocrat. But it is what it is. Face the music while it is still playing. Americans of all stripes need to join hands to destroy technocracy before it destroys us. Take these videos from others from technocracy.news and sit down with your friends and associates and lead them by the hand. Patrick Wood. There you go.
That's my assessment at this point. It's too late to stop at this point. If there were a mass rebellion across the country, maybe something could be stopped. But at this point, certainly the battle will go local at this point. There'd be no national battle taking place at this point. Maybe on a local basis, you can consider talking to your city council, your leaders, your immediate leaders in your own area of the county, city, whatever, to build a firewall for you against all this nonsense. But at this point, we can't stop the technocrats what they're doing. They have all the cards, and so to speak, they hold the Trump card as well.
and this, of course, this is one reason why I'm thankful to be a Christian, because I could look at all this and become so discouraged and angry. That doesn't mean I become pious. I'm not talking about that, folks. You're not saying, well, look at us, we're so spiritual. None of this impacts us. We're above it all. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's selfish pietism. That never works well. What I'm saying, though, is you can become very concerned to the point of frustration and anger or fear. Doesn't mean you don't be concerned about what was being said. Well, a wise man, a prudent man sees danger, takes refuge, right? But at least as a Christian, I understand, what is God doing? Or I shouldn't say that. What is God allowing, right? The providence of God, the doctrine of confluence, the free will of man and the providential will of God. The free will of man and the providential will of God. They can work together as two streams. In other words, God steps back, says, I'm going to allow for the election of Donald Trump. He's going to pick his VP, J.D. Vance, who came here through Peter Thiel. These guys have this in their heart to do. I'm going to providentially step back and allow them to do this. I've intervened in history. I stopped Adolf Hitler. I stopped a lot of Nero. I stopped a lot of things, Alexander the Great. I brought kingdoms down, and meaning I had someone invade them, or I stepped back and let someone invade them and bring them down. So I've stepped back at times and allowed things to happen, and I've stepped in and stopped certain things providentially. And I think we're at that point where God is providentially stepping back, allowing certain things to happen. He's not the one doing it because God's not the author of evil or confusion. The book of James tells us that. There's no shadow of darkness in him and his character. But God is now stepping back and allowing these guys to come on the scene and do these things, which I think is setting the stage for Bible prophecy and the beast system to be built. Am I thinking about this the same way you are, Patrick?
I think we probably are thinking exactly the same. When you consider all the evil that's taking place with this beast system at this point, it really is just dark as dark can be. But you have to remember, God is a fair God, amongst other things, qualities. He's always been fair with us, certainly, but he's also been fair with everybody else in the world. He gives them a chance to accept Christ and etc. Even the devil is going to have his day in court, right? Where he can fight against God to his heart's content, then God will crush him completely. But God is being completely fair against for the devil at this point to allow him to build this system as we see it right before our eyes. And the devil will never be able to lay a charge against God that he was not fair to let the devil have his tools, have his system in place when he finally assumes his role in the 7-year period we know it's a tribulation. So this is, you look at this this way. If you look at this whole system, it's a new light, right? And we're privileged to be in the place to watch it all happen. This is stunning to me that I used to think when I was a young Christian, I wanted to go and I want to live in the day of Jesus when he walked the earth. I wanted to be with him, and I wanted, he washed my feet, and we listen to him. He'd feed us with loaves and fishes, and all those miracles that took place. I tell you what, that's a dream gone by at this point. We live in the most exciting time in history right now as Christians. We should be excited and looking certainly for the return of Christ. But what an opportunity we have at this point to alert others and just tell them what's going on so that they can be excited as well.
That's absolutely right. And today on radio, I was dealing with news stories talking about Babylon, 58 miles south of Baghdad, and all that's going on there with water purification, power plants, the fall port, billions of dollars in Babylon to make it this major commercial site. And yet that's exactly what Revelation 17 and Revelation 18 talk about, a global world system in Babylon, right? I'm starting Revelation chapter 18, verse 1 on Sunday night, friends, on our Sunday night church service, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. So it is an exciting time to be watching the Bible come to life and being fulfilled and the stage being set for those Bible prophecies to come to pass. It is fascinating, and we need to take what's common to the culture and turn it into a pulpit to show the supernatural nature of God's word and ask people about their spiritual condition and what they're putting their hope and trust in. So in closing, Patrick, let me ask you this. I believe people need to be proactive. One way to protect yourselves from all of this digital system, I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion. I personally believe people should be looking at gold and silver, numismatic, 1933 and older, and getting some of their assets out of the bullseye. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. If you have assets to do it, that's fine. That's good. In fact, it's a good thing to do. A lot of people, however, don't have any assets at all. Right. They're basically flat. And, if that's your condition, don't lose hope. God said he will protect you and give you everything you need in this life. Yep. And it doesn't depend on gold and silver, although it's nice to have. I have to say, I wish I had hundreds of ounces of gold right now. But, nevertheless, God said, well, he dresses the lilies of the field, right, and he takes care of all the birds of the air. He'll take care of you as well. So, amen. We're not going to.
Yeah, great way to close. Technocracy.news, you'll find it. There it is, folks, right there. DEFCON 1, Technocracy being launched right now. by Trump administration, Technocracy.news. And of course, Patrick Wood and Logan House host a show together every Tuesday and Thursday, 11 a.m. Central, right here on Worldview Tube, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern Standard, Tuesdays and Thursdays with Technocracy.news. Check it out, Technocracy.news. Patrick, have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Patrick. And folks, we'll be right back after this break.
Nature has a rhythm, a quiet strength, a way of restoring, protecting, and renewing us. Wellness isn't just about how you feel today. It's the quiet choices you make for tomorrow. At myvitamin.com/worldview, we've made daily self-care simple. Quality vitamins, daily supplements, and targeted nutrition. Myvitamin.com/worldview makes it easy. Pure ingredients thoughtfully combined, tailored for your body. Formulated by a doctor who has over 25 years of medical practice experience and is a certified functional medicine provider. Visit myvitamin.com/worldview today and take the next step towards strength, balance, and resilience. Discover the wide range of med packs made for you and your loved ones. What you nurture today becomes the strength you walk in tomorrow.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again for being with us. I'm going to be joined now by Dr. Bashima Williams. We're going to talk about a couple things. One of them is leaky gut. You have a leaky gut? How do you fix it? And if you don't fix it, what happens? By the way, you know your immune system is very vital. And a lot of your immune system, I guess, resides in your gut. Dr. Bashima Williams is a medical doctor. She's also a functional medicine doctor. Now, before we get to Dr. Bashima, we have some good news. Listen here is now Health and Human Service Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what he has to say about the United Nations and their agenda. Listen here. Here's some good news.
Hello, everyone. This is your HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I want to speak to you today about a controversial issue that could directly impact you and your family during a global health emergency. Last year, the World Health Organization's governing body made some far-reaching amendments to its international health regulations, otherwise known as the IHR regulations. These regulations establish the legal framework that gives countries rights and responsibilities for managing public health events with global impact. The deadline to reject these amendments is next week, and we are rejecting them. So I'd like to explain to you why. The first reason is national sovereignty. Nations who accept the new regulations are signing over their power in health emergencies to an unelected international organization that could order lockdowns, travel restrictions, or any other measures it sees fit. In fact, it doesn't even need to declare an emergency. Potential public health risks are enough for it to initiate action. If we're going to give the WHO that much power, we should at least invite a thorough public debate, especially since the agreement is an official treaty and it bypasses the U.S. Senate, which plays a key role in ensuring major international commitments receive proper democratic oversight. To make matters worse, the new regulations employ extremely broad language that gives the WHO unprecedented power. They require countries to establish systems of risk communication so that the WHO can implement unified public messaging globally. That opens the door to the kind of narrative management and propaganda and censorship that we saw during the COVID pandemic. We don't want to see that kind of system institutionalized even further. The agreement also contains provisions about global systems of health IDs, vaccine passports, and a centralized medical database. It lays the groundwork for global medical surveillance of every human being. Maybe if the WHO were an infallible authority, untainted by industry influence, we would consider accepting the new regulations. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic demonstrated otherwise. During COVID, the WHO failed to enforce the international health regulations that were already in place for generations. China withheld critical information about the outbreak for at least a month and faced no real consequences or criticism from WHO. As the 2024 Congressional Oversight Report put it, the WHO was misinformed denied access to China, and used as a cover for the Chinese Communist Party's reckless action. These and other atrocities make one thing clear. We must strengthen national and local autonomy to hold global organizations in check and to restore a real balance of power. Underneath all the bureaucratic language, what's at stake here is a vision for our future. Are we going to be subjects to a technocratic control system that uses health risks and pandemic preparedness as a Trojan horse to curtail basic democratic freedoms? Do we want a future where every person, every movement, every transaction, and every human body is under surveillance at all times? Now, I don't want to be too alarmist. The new regulations aren't in themselves medical totalitarianism. In fact, they were perhaps written with good intentions, but they are definitely a step in the wrong direction. That's why we're rejecting the amendments, not only on behalf of our own citizens, but the whole world. After all, America could simply ignore the WHO. But few other countries are as powerful as the United States. Even though many of these amendments are phrased to be non-binding, as a practical matter, it's hard for many countries to resist them, especially when they are dependent on the WHO funding and its partnerships. That's why we're taking leadership to stop an agreement that's bad for the entire world. I want to be clear that in rejecting these amendments, President Trump and I are not rejecting international cooperation. We can cooperate with other nations without jeopardizing our civil liberties, without undermining our Constitution, and without ceding away America's treasured sovereignty. That's my commitment to you. That's President Trump's commitment to you. Thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless our country.
And I say again, amen and amen. Thank you, Secretary RFK Jr. Thank you, President Trump. Again, we told you guys, when this administration does good, we're going to praise it. When there's something that we question, we're going to question it. And this is another opportunity, and there's been many, another great opportunity to say thank you, President Trump. This is exactly what many people voted for. Exactly. The globalism of the World Health Organization, which is really the United Nations, which is really funded and controlled, according to numerous reports, by China. Great job, President Trump. Great job, RFK Jr. This is exactly what so many voted for. And notice, Logan, he used the word of you and Patrick Woods in your Technocracy program, Technocratic. Did you notice that, Logan? He used the word technocratic. We don't be dominated by the technocratic agenda like China and social credit scores, right? We don't want shadow banning and all the technocratic tyranny. I don't know. One has to wonder if President RFK Jr. is still in the cards. Doing a good job in so many ways. Nobody's perfect, including your host, but he's doing a good job in a lot of ways. Let's see what Dr. Bashima thinks. Dr. Bashima, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me back today, Brandon.
Great
I hope
to have
you've
you.
had a great. I hope you've had a great week.
I've had a great week. I've had a good week. It's always something, when you run a network like this. There's a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes that we don't talk about. Just the challenges of entrepreneurship and management and whatnot. But overall, yes.
Yep, you wouldn't have it any other way. And honestly, I love what he said. I don't like the idea of just blindly giving somebody all this control.
Yes.
And COVID really opened up our eyes in so many areas of weaknesses that our country has, that the world has as a whole. And, just from a perspective of functional medicine, it really showed how important functional medicine is in terms of the people who really practice sort of this longevity type medicine weren't the people getting sick. It was the people that were eating, that were overweight, have diabetes, have heart disease, and even are prone to have heart disease. They're the ones that were getting the heart attacks, because what we have to remember, a virus affected our bodies. Somebody who is really, eating healthy and exercising, sleeping well, and somebody who's eating kind of crappy, it's a virus, the same exact virus, is going to affect our bodies totally differently. irrespective of other things that might, affect that, which is, genetics and things like that. But, we're actually in the developing phases of some vitamins for dogs and cats, because I think that that's a very, very important thing, because what we're seeing is more and more cancers in our little pets. And so we're working with a veterinarian and things like that. And I was actually on a board meeting today, and we talked about the fact, there they are. There's the dogs right on cue. We talked about the fact that most people who had normal amounts of vitamin D and were taking omega-3 fish oil supplement, a good quality one, were less likely to suffer complications with COVID. What does that tell you? It tells you some really big things. One, we have a huge deficiency. In fact, I would say that probably close to 80% of my patients are deficient in vitamin D when I do actual lab testing. Second thing that tells you is omega-3 is super powerful. What people don't realize is that it affects their immune system. So many things that can come out of that whole discussion that we just heard. At the end of the day, you are responsible for you. That's what I got out of it. We cannot, and we definitely as a nation do not want to give our control of what we do for our citizens to somebody else.
100%. Well said.
That got me a little revved up.
Well, good. And I love the idea of the dog vitamins, because, we're all about dogs here. We love the dogs and the cats. I love my cat, Mo. All right.
We have some really special omega-3 and probiotic antioxidant blend, and I cannot wait to share those with you.
Yeah, we are excited about that as well. That's excellent. All right, let's talk about leaky gut. By the way, I got a phone call last week from a friend of mine. He's an old football player, and he's currently a football coach. He has been for many years. He's a big guy. He's well over 6 feet. I don't know. What do you think, Logan? 6'2", 6'3"? Logan? Vic? Probably 6'2", 6'3". What do you think, 300? Big guy. Like old Mississippi big guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I just want you to know, I love watching your health channel. He said, I just watched your whole interview with Dr. Bashima Williams. That was last week's. I wasn't expecting this big hunting. He's a big hunter, huge hunter. He's always in the woods hunting. Football, hunting, fishing. Football, hunting, fishing. That's his world, right? I never expected him to say, I love watching Dr. Bashima Williams and all these health interviews. He said, I just can't get enough of them. I love watching them. So there you go. There you go.
Well, I love sharing. And obviously, one way that we're supporting this show is through myvitamin.com. And really, we're really pushing hard. And what this is doing is it's giving me the opportunity to actually be on 5 podcasts every single week, giving information out that is tried and true. There's nothing weird about the information I'm giving. It's what I've actually done for so many of my patients. What I really hope, and my big hope in investing all this time and energy and doing something like this, is that we change lives. Like I said before, not everyone can afford to see a functional medicine doctor. Generally, functional medicine doctors, it's a good $3,000 to $5,000. The first year for sure, when we're cleaning everything up, we're cleaning up the gut, we're cleaning up all the prescriptions and reversing disease. So we're doing a lot of work that first year. It's going to cost a lot of money. No one ever complains about the money they're spending, though, even if they are from modest income, because they feel so much better. So today, I just wanted to go through some of the things in terms of gut health. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because the gut controls so many things, and we can literally have an entire month of talking about nothing but gut in our little segments, because if your listeners get gut health right, then they are going to see a vast improvement in their energy, their brain fog. You might be able to get rid of the annoying skin rashes, headaches, joint pains. Obviously, you're going to improve gut symptoms as well. Heartburn, indigestion, nausea, vomiting, things like that. I feel like there's so much richness and there's so much bang for your buck if you can get gut health right.
Leaky gut, what are some of the side effects or the effects? So how would someone know they have a leaky gut?
So when you have leaky gut, I want to explain what it is. your gut lining has these cells that are super, super tight. Okay. And the reason, and the gut lining, that little tiny thin gut lining, which is thinner than a piece of paper, is the only thing that's keeping the outside world from the inside world. So you have these cells that are really, really tight. And let's say you ate some eggs. Okay. And now we have to break that egg down into tiny, tiny pieces called amino acids before that egg then can go through this tight, tight cell junction and also through the cell and be utilized by your body as an amino acid, which is a basic building block, right? Glucose does the same thing. Fat does the same thing. Minerals and vitamins and phytonutrients all do the same thing. Now, what happens with leaky gut is you have holes in your gut lining. So instead of this being really nice and tight, you have holes. So it's like this. So now let's just use the egg as an example. So now you've just eaten this egg, and the egg white, which is where the protein is, goes into your stomach and you're breaking it down. But before that egg has a chance to be broken down into tiny little amino acid pieces, some of it might go through. Okay. Now, what in the world is your body going to do with a big globular piece of protein that isn't broken down into basic amino acid? Do you have any idea what happens?
I don't.
Well, right on the other side of the lining of your small, that thin, tiny, thin piece of membrane that protects you from the outside world, right on the other side, right over here, is your gut-associated lymphoid tissue. And that is 70 to 80% of where your immune system is at. And when a big globular piece of protein, I mean, obviously it's really tiny, but it's not an amino acid yet. When a big globular piece of protein makes its way here, and the body's like, is this a friend or a foe? That's the first response that your immune system has. Is this a friend? Is it an amino acid and I know what to do with it? Or is it a foe? Oh my gosh, what is this big globular piece of protein? Well, it has to attack it. So now you're attacking over and over and over again. That is why leaky gut is so vital. And that's also why leaky gut affects more than just your gut. So when you ask about what symptoms do people have, one thing I can tell you is in people who have autoimmune diseases, okay, rheumatoid, thyroid, Hashimoto's, whatever it is, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, one thing is for sure, you have leaky gut. And you also have a trigger, say a really bad infection that might have triggered the gene on, and you have a genetic predisposition to that specific autoimmune disease. The first thing we do when we have anyone with autoimmune is we start working on leaky gut. We assume they have it. There are tests that you can actually do, but it doesn't matter. There's proteins in between these cells, zonulin, actin, things like that we can actually measure to prove, and also prove how severe your leaky gut is. It kind of gives us a number, but what I find is it doesn't really matter because I'm treating everyone for leaky gut. It's something you want to do on a regular basis anyway. Gluten is a protein that your body has a really, really hard time digesting. So if, and most of the time you poop it out, but if you have leaky gut, that gluten protein is going through, and that's going to cause all sorts of problems like we talked about last week with the chicken skin on the arms, or a rash, or joint pain, brain fog, all sorts of things like that. So understanding what leaky gut is, understanding the importance and why you want to seal that up, because it's not just undigested food or foods that you're sensitive to that are going through. It's also any toxins, any plastics, any hydrocarbons, anything else that you've ingested that will leak through to the other side where your immune system has to deal with it.
Mm. Now, of course, I think I had a leaky gut because my hands were cracked and bleeding for years. I mean, huge cracks and cuts, bleeding constantly. That and also omega-3, probably lacking omega-3. So when I see that with patients, hands and feet, high dose omega-3, about 3 grams a day. So higher than what you're getting in your med pack. But I didn't know that you had dry, cracky hands, and I don't know what all of your blood work looks like yet. So we'll be able to help a lot once we get that info. Good. Well, of course, I got on the Bella Grace, and I got this high-end collagen with the peptides cut short, and then voila, it healed up.
Yeah,
So
the
there you go.
collagen is really good for leaky gut. I just want to quickly go through some of the most common causes of leaky gut, just
Okay.
in case people don't know. The number one biggest cause is our diet. So eating a diet that's high in refined sugars, eating a diet that's high in gluten. You know, gluten has really changed in our country, not so much in other countries, but the biggest reason in our country is the GMO processing of it to increase yield, increase its resistance to pesticides, and increase the concentration of gluten protein in the wheat products that we're making, and because it's more desirable, because the more gluten you have, the more elasticity your breads and pastries and things like that have. And really the other big thing is a lot of people who eat a lot of gluten generally tend to have a bad diet because they're eating a lot of bread and, you know, other processed foods. And what we're really seeing is it's affecting their whole entire digestion, specifically the amount of acid that's in their stomach, how well their pancreas works, and how much pancreatic enzymes are being secreted, things like that. So, so your diet, and also eating a lot of foods that you're sensitive to. A lot of people will do food sensitivity testing. I tend to stay away from those because think about it. If you have leaky gut, you're going to be sensitive to hundreds of foods. I don't care about the hundreds of foods because I'm not going to tell you to stop eating the hundreds of foods, but I am going to probably eliminate some of the big foods initially, including eggs, dairy, and all wheat products. Those are out the door for the majority of my patients until we get a handle on some of the symptoms that they're having. So eating an anti-inflammatory diet is super important. The next big thing that I see, and this in particular affects the gut microbiome, and we call it dysbiosis, when our gut microbiome isn't as healthy as it should be, and that is medications, including antibiotics. I had a girl today who has been sick 10 times since January. You know, I mean, that's not okay. And also going on rounds and rounds and rounds of antibiotics, not okay. It puts you at high risk, not only for dysbiosis, but also overgrowth of yeast, which then creates this infectious microbiome, which is not good either. And so antibiotics, PPIs, that's another big one. PPIs are the Nexium, Protonix. And again, I'm not treating anyone on this podcast, right? We're just giving general information only things, but these are things that you need to be aware of. There's a reason why people who take PPIs end up having osteoporosis sooner in life than not. And that's just one example of what it does. And basically what we're doing is we're shutting off the acid in our stomach that God intended for us to have in our stomach for a multitude of reasons. And now what we're seeing is we're not digesting food very well. So PPIs is a big one to get off of if you can, and you got to work with your doctor on this. A couple other big ones are anti-inflammatory medications like ibuprofen and painkillers, and of course birth control pills. The other big one, Brandon, is alcohol. And the other big thing I see in my practice that causes leaky gut is all sorts of toxins that your gut lining is exposed to on a regular basis, including those plastics and those, plastic water drinking bottles, which you should definitely be avoiding. And also just some of the plastics that you're breathing in. In talking with my veterinarian and pet supplement expert today, one thing we learned is that there's a lot of plastics in water. And so we have always in our house given our dogs filtered water, but just man, it's everywhere. Toxins are everywhere. It's another big one. Stress is a big one. Infections, parasites, yeast, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, all sorts of things. And one last thing I just want to mention is low acid. When you have low acid, either because you're taking a proton pump inhibitor, or you're getting older, or you've taken a lot of NSAIDs throughout your life and you've really destroyed the gut lining, which is supposed to be making that acid. One thing that is very paradoxical is that when you have acid reflux, almost always it is because you don't have enough acid in your stomach, not because you have too much acid in your stomach. And what I have found is people who stop taking their acid medicine actually start putting acid in with their meals, like either in a form of apple cider vinegar or a betaine HCl capsule. They actually start to feel better.
Wow. All right. Now, next week, I'm just going to throw this out there. We don't rehearse. Can we do a show on all the people who drink Pepsi, Coca-Cola, but particularly Diet Coke. Like President Trump drinks a lot of Diet Coke. I've always been very suspicious of the Diet Coke. Now, I enjoy a good Coca-Cola. I'm not a big Pepsi fan, but if it's all they have, I'll have a Pepsi. I don't drink a lot of Coca-Cola. I'm more, I have some Sprite, but I'd love to drink a lot of Coca-Cola. I mean, I used to, but I just realized it's loaded up with a lot of sugars, and I, trying not to do that. But occasionally I enjoy a Coke, but not very often. But I notice all these people, some of them around me who I won't name, not in my immediate family, but some different people who have friends who have people who come around, and they've always got a Diet Coke in their hand or getting a Diet Coke. And I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't you be better just to get a Coke? Because I don't trust the Diet Coke, personally speaking. Nothing against the company. I don't trust I don't trust a lot of these artificial sweeteners. Is my gut reaction right on this one?
Your gut reaction is 100% right. What we can do is a show on all the different types of sugars. So the natural sugars, the best sugars to use, the natural low-calorie sugar, like I'm okay with a little stevia, but I'm not okay with anything that's synthetic. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. And it can accumulate. It's hard to get rid of out of your body. But also the high fructose corn syrup, we need to have a discussion on that. High fructose corn syrup is what's in a good old-fashioned Coke. And guess what? Your body doesn't know what to do with fructose. So your liver, unlike glucose, which can go into a cell and actually make energy, fructose has to go to your liver. And what we have seen since the 1990s is this epidemic of fatty liver disease increasing it's just horrible. It has now overtaken alcohol as the reason for liver failure. Ooh. Because the fructose gets stored. If your body doesn't need that energy right now, then it does not. The fructose has to go to the liver, get converted to glucose for us to use it. But if your body doesn't need glucose right now, which most of the time in our diet, we don't need it because we're eating too much anyway, all that fructose gets stored as fat in your liver.
So let's talk about those, particularly like the Diet Cokes, the Diet Colas with all that, what do you call it?
Listen, my dream is to be Donald Trump's personal. Like for a year, I would travel everywhere with him and make sure that he's eating the best foods and getting, really clean foods. And because we need a guy like him to be around for a long time. And I'm afraid all the stress he's under right now, like there's this scale of how much your body can take. And it's like if you keep putting all this stress and then you also keep putting crap into your body,
not a good thing.
You shouldn't expect your body to last, for as long as somebody who isn't, right. Even with good genetics. And he does have good genetics. So he's got that going for him, presumably because of how old his parents were. But if you, I would love, that would be a dream of mine.
I know you're not his doctor, but they're saying that the bruises on his hand are due to all the hands he's shaking. I don't know.
My gut feeling is it's a common area to get IVs. So sometimes when you're sticking in an IV, which you have to have if you're getting all those tests that he just had. And then number two, believe it or not, if you are on aspirin, which he is, and you shake hands with people, that little bit of trauma can cause your blood vessel. It can cause bruising. So that's common.
What they said. That's what the White House said this week. The aspirin that he's on with all the hands he's shaking. Okay. What about the swelling of the ankles? Have you seen the picture of his ankles being really swollen?
So my gut feeling for that, and I'm not surprised, because people in their 70s have something called venous insufficiency. That's where you can't. So the blood goes to your legs through the arteries. Okay. And arteries are these big muscular things, right? They've got layers and layers and layers and layers of muscle. Now, what sucks the blood back to the heart is something called veins. Okay. Veins are one skinny little layer of muscles. That's it. So they don't have a lot of power. The arteries have a lot of power. That's why, when people want to cut their artery here in their wrist, it's because it's going to pump blood out. If you just cut a vein, it'll just ooze until it clots and then it stops, because it's got no power. So how do the veins work? The veins work by sucking up all the fluid and blood back to the heart through something called a valve system. So inside of the veins, there are these valves that touch each other. So as that little tiny muscle is pumping, the valves open, push the fluid back up and then they close off again so that the fluid doesn't go back down, right? And it's also pushing against gravity. What happens as we get older, the veins, the valves don't touch like they used to. So as the blood gets pushed up, instead of closing completely, there's going to be a little backflow, okay? And then at third, what we call third spaces, or goes into the tissue with least resistance, which unfortunately is the ankles. Now, when we see this at highest risk is going to be in anyone who travels a lot. So if you're on an airplane traveling all the time, you are going to have venous insufficiency and swollen ankles. And what we tell people is wear your support stockings. So literally we have these Jobst, J-O-B-S-T stockings. You can find them on Amazon. Minimum 18 millimeters mercury pressure, especially when you're traveling for a long period of time, whether it's on a plane or in a car. And God knows he has put a lot of miles on that airplane.
Wow. And she had no idea those questions were coming. Look at it. It's like a PDF on her head. Amazing.
Well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've explained this a time or two.
What'd you do? Start when you were 16 years old? What's the deal here? I'm older. I'm older. Maybe I'm older than I look, but I'm older. So, yeah.
But hey, you know what? We love supporting you. We love pushing people towards myvitamin.com. Make sure you put Worldview, please. We want to give Brandon House and this company all the credit that they are due. So myvitamin.com, Worldview, get started on that supplement, the foundational pack, the women's, men's, and the women's over 50 or the teenage, and the teen pack. And we have an amazing new product coming out. That's the antioxidant pack that you and I created together because you know the importance of antioxidants, which then, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, all these other things. When you up your antioxidant load, you will significantly reduce your risk for so many other things. So.
Well, let us know when that's out. We're ready to promote it. I went to her and I said, hey, can we develop this? And she put all of her knowledge behind developing this great product. We're excited to work on with her.
Should be available next week.
Good. Excellent. Can't wait. Now, folks, we got to bring in over 40 grand a month to keep the network going. We're around 40 grand a month. That does not count my salary. And I have to make a salary too. I have to pay bills. I have utility bill, health insurance, car insurance, everything like you guys do. So I have to make a salary as well. But that's about 40 grand a month you have to bring in to keep the network going. Does not include that. That's like paying the guys in the control room. That's paying our IT guy. I got a $10,000 bill coming up just to the company that we license our B-roll footage and graphics. That's just one of many graphic packages. One company, 10 grand a year to be licensed so you don't get sued for violating federal copyright because you're using images and video footage that you don't own. So what I'm trying to tell you is we got to bring in about $40,000 a month. And we try to work with work with great companies. And here's one that will support your health and us at the same time. But only if you add in that /worldview, vitamin.com/worldview. It also allows us to have on Dr. Bashima every week. Because again, a workman's worthy of their hire. This is a great company she has, and she's giving us a lot of time each and every week. So everybody's winning when you do business here at myvitamin.com/worldview. myvitamin.com/worldview. Dr. Bashima, have a great weekend.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
Thank you. You as well.
God bless.
You too. And tell Dr. Mark hello. She's smiling. What was that?
Oh, I was going to, Dr. Mike, you mean?
Oh, Mike. Yeah. Yes, her husband's now going, who's Dr. Mark? Sorry, Dr. Mike.
Well, we know a lot of Dr. Marks.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, Dr. Mike.
Close enough.
I've never met Dr. Mike yet. So once I meet him, I'll be better with the name. But yeah.
Well, when you come over here, that's who you're going to see.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll have all your labs and everything, and that's who you're going to see because, a lot of guys like seeing guys. So
yeah, and that sounds weird, but yeah, that's going to happen. We're going to get over there. I haven't seen a doctor formally for a long time. So yeah, you can take my blood pressure and do all that. Although I know my blood pressure is really good because Melissa has one of those machines, Oh,
good.
And whenever I don't feel real well, I'm like, maybe we should take my blood pressure. She laughs. Ha! I'm like, why are you laughing? Because your blood pressure is always just perfect. I'm like, I don't feel good. I feel terrible. Just take my blood pressure. And she rolls up my sleeve. Put your arm. She's a medical nurse background, medical social worker background. So she loves playing nurse anyway. So she rolls up my sleeve and tells me to sit still. And you can't have your arm like that. It's got to be like this. And he puts the cuff on and does the machine. And it cranks down on my arm. And then she rips it off in disgust. She says, see, I told you.
Hey, you know what? I'm so proud of you for giving up gluten, for losing weight, and for being proactive in your health and wellness, taking your supplements like we told you to. All of those things, that's where, when we look at our patients, we're really looking at 20 years down the road and not just today. And honestly, we need people like you around. Well, we need that blood pressure to be normal. We need,
when I say she rips off the cuff in disgust, it's because she can't believe how good it is, consistent my blood pressure is. She's like,
I'm so happy about that.
Hers is kind of, will get on the high side. Yeah, it gets up on the high side. And she's
genetics. Some of it's genetics.
100% genetics on her part and mine. Yeah. So anyway, she always kind of rips it off. Like, I told you. But one of these days, she's going to go, oh my word, what's going on with him? Because I'm like Eddie Steady when it comes to the the blood pressure.
Yeah. Well, it should be about 5% lower now that you've lost weight. So.
Wow.
Anyway, something to keep an eye on. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I know you've got some guests waiting. So thank you so much for everything. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a blessed day.
Checking in.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, we do have more to come. We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. Joining me now is Michael Weiner. Gold just keeps going up. It's at $3,351 or thereabout. Silver is now up to over $38, like $38.26 or something, headed toward $40. That's the next spot we're looking for. He joins us. I guess Wes Peters has just quit coming on the show. He hasn't been here in at least a month. Welcome back, Michael Weiner. You're a workaholic like I am, so I know you're always available. What happened to Wes Peters? Did he just quit?
No, he just got tied up with a lot of things that he's backed up with since he got back from that vacation. So he's been dealing with that at the present time.
Yeah, vacation number, 10 or 12 in the last 12 months?
He's vacation beast. There you go.
You and I are just old workhorses. We just keep going, don't we?
Old school.
Old school. That's
old
right.
School is good school.
All right. So what is going on? Are we going to finally find ourselves with a new Fed chairman or not?
I think that, quite honestly, Trump doesn't want to fire him. He wants him to fire himself. The pressure is building in so many different areas of the economy. A lot of people are going after him. The situation with this monument that he's building, which we're dealing with a bunch of people who are supposed to be financially responsible, and they build this financially irresponsible monument to their ego. What does that tell you about these people? That they think that they are literally above anything. They can do whatever they want. If they want coffee bars, if they want to have a fancy luxury area, whatever they want to do. And what the heck is wrong with the other building? Excuse me. We owe $36 trillion. You need a new building right now? Look with what you got. It's just like we as normal people. If we can't afford a new house, do we buy one anyways? That's what's the problem in government sometimes. These people don't care. Okay, we're in debt $36 trillion. Let's just build a $4 billion building. Why not? It's absolutely absurd. I think that Trump won't fire him, but he will hope under pressure he will ultimately resign. If he doesn't resign, I do not expect him. He's a politico. I don't expect him to do the right thing. He should be lowering interest rates. And it's not just because Trump wants him to, it's because it's a logical thing to do. And he clearly played his card out when he did what he did with Joe Biden. So right now, we have a Federal Reserve which is supposed to be acting singularly. Every board member is supposed to be thinking on their own, and instead they're one big bottle of garbage. They all think the same, talk the same, do the same. And I really like Kevin Warsh. The guy he's a good guy. He wants to go in there and tear that place to shreds and get rid of some of these. You got to understand, everybody thinks the Federal Reserve Board is just 6 or 7 people. They probably got 1,500 people working there, and of the 1,500, probably 1,499 of them are Democrats who sit back there and come up with ridiculous ways to look at things financially, and they have been wrong consistently. That's what's scary.
All right.
And I have no faith in them at all.
Let's go to this first article. 5 reasons Trump's second term has been so good for gold. It's becoming a core asset class. Tell me about that, please.
Well, I think the guy who was the president of UBS said it best. Gold is being, and I've said it a while ago, is no longer a commodity. Gold is money.
Money.
And right now, he said recently, the president of UBS, that the second strongest financial instrument in the world is gold. And central banks around the world are purchasing gold and putting gold within their portfolios to be able to utilize. And that's why we have states here like Florida and Texas, Utah, and other states will be coming along. It wouldn't surprise me if Oklahoma was next. But when that happens, it's all about being able to use gold as a means of payment. And that's what we're all struggling with right now. And so is the government of trying in today's day and age to protect themselves, because the next battle in front of us is going to be a currency war. And China is using gold within their system. And the United States is going to go pull back gold within their system, amongst other things like what they did today with the Genius Act.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, look at this here. I want to go to that, guys. There you go. Report: massive U.S. banks now continue to shutter branches. What?
Yeah, they're shutting branches because they want to force digital banking. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between digital banking and digital currency. Digital banking is where you pay all of your bills online. You know, God forbid, you know, if you go in and ask for a new account, if you ask for a checkbook, you've got to ask them because they're not going to give you one. They don't track checkbooks, and people don't want to pay it. It's easier to pay your bills online. It's easier to pay your bills with your credit card. When you do that, understand the fact that you open the door for the government. You're opening the door for them to see your business. And also understand the fact that when you look at all of these things going on here right now, 1,100, 1,200 branches continuing to be closed is all about making sure you can't go into the bank. If you're going to do it, you got to do it online. And a lot of people don't even have the capacity to do it online.
That's right. Nor do they want to do it online, nor do they want to figure it out.
Correct. And you've got a little small-minded idiot that somebody walks into a bank. A client of Worldview just today went in, so was going to wire money, and what happens? They get a different teller, and that teller, who's probably a Walmart greeter and the education of a frog, sits back and decides they're going to be really tough on this wire transfer. We're going to ask you, what are you doing with it? What's your business? My answer when a teller gets questioning to me is, are we related? Excuse me, do I know something that I don't know about my family? Because it's none of your business. Show me a rule that tells me I have to say something to you. People don't say that enough. They get scared because that little person on the other end of the counter controls their money. They forgot that it's really their money. You know, that's exactly why, Brandon, we talk about creating your gold bank as a means of having personal security and protection against this insanity. The banks are not your friends. And we keep saying that and saying that and saying that. And they think, oh, yeah, we're crazy. But every time something happens, it shows more and more. What one of your guests just said recently about saving paper. Look at those people. We talked about those people in California with the fire. You would think that it would be easy to rebuild all of their information because it's all kept in the computer at the bank or at Morgan Stanley or at Bank of America or at one of these other companies, Raymond James. But that's not true. They're literally fighting with people to find all of their assets and all of their money. That's why I tell people what's really wonderful about gold ownership is one simple thing. It's black and white. It's not gray. I told a person the other day, would you ever realize what you own? Have you ever read what you bought from your financial planner? Do you actually understand what you own? And 9 times out of 10, they have no clue.
Exactly.
All they know is what they said. Well, listen, this is paying 10%. It is. What happens when it's not? What happens when it goes down 60%? Do you want to know what it is then? A little bit late.
Yep.
Okay. This is the problem with the banking system now.
Let's go to this one. I got to keep moving. Mortgage delinquencies are now exploding in 2025. Why? Why are they exploding, Michael?
They're exploding because people are short of funds. Thank you to Joe Biden, people lost more and more income and money. And mortgage rates continually went up, and people were borrowing money on credit cards and against the equity in their houses, which they got from the good old days of Trump. And now they're sitting back and not in a position to do that, or they lost their jobs, or they're having problems to find it, and they don't have the funds put away, and savings have been dwindled away. And their biggest problem when the inflation hit with Biden was eating. I mean, when you come down to the basics in life, you got to eat.
Yeah,
so
but I don't see. I know they want to tell us inflation is cooled, but it's not cooled where it needs to be.
They're doing a good job compared to where it was. They're doing a good job, but at the end of the day,
tell that to the young couple trying to afford a house. Tell that to the people.
That goes back to the Jerome Powell.
I know.
That goes back to interest rates. If they don't lower the interest rates, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, but I know they say it's cooling, but my insurance on my house went up 40%. How about yours?
Me too.
Okay, so how's it better? It might be better in some areas, but it's still very difficult. People are working to pay for what is really an inflation-based economy. Are cars getting cheaper? Are cars getting cheaper?
Nope. People have to deal with debt. This country has, until we start paying attention to our debt and to inflation, and also the ridiculous housing market. I'm a big proponent against the housing market. It's ridiculous. It's gone nuts since COVID, and it's absurd. Some of these people who buy a house for $200,000 and it went up to $700,000 because of COVID, they think it's still worth $700,000. And these prices are inflated. They're nuts. It's absolutely insane, and it's just wrong. That's why this idiot in New York is running around offering all these people free housing, free rent, free this, free that. There's no such thing as free lunch. And again, what I mentioned to you, Brandon, once during the week, the existential threat to the United States of America is not the inflation, and it's not even the debt. It's communism and socialism.
Yep.
And
that's not gone away, by the way. It's communism, socialism, and it's Islam, which is partnered with communism for the red-green axis. Now the communist and the Islamist are one and the same person, like the guy running for mayor in Minneapolis, the guy running for mayor in New York City. They're Islamist and they're Marxist. And by the way, Andy Cyrus has a great article on how the Islamists have taken over about 18 cities. And don't be shocked when the communists and the Islamists are both pushing socialism, because social justice is one of the tenets of Islam. Socialism. Okay? So they're in bed together, and this is only going to expand. And I would say, I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion. You need to take some of your assets off the bulls what's it called? Bull's mark or bullseye? Bullseye. You need to get your money out of the bullseye, get it off the target. And you can do that legally with gold, particularly numismatic, 1933 and older. Let's go to this next article. Trump.
Can we ask one more thing, Brian? I want to make mention of this Mandani situation and this stuff. We're 3 months away from this election coming up in New York. If this idiot gets elected, New York City is the capital of the world financially, of capitalism. It's where the equities market is, the bond market is, the banking market is. All of the major indices literally financially is right in New York. If that guy goes in, he's going to terrorize the city. Everybody's going to run out of the broom, and you're going to have chaos within the financial markets. And people better pay attention to what's happening right here, because if they don't, and like you just said, with their own financial position, with their own gold bank, and get out of the way, this guy is winning. He's winning right now. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Here we go. Doge effect accelerates as deep tri-state jobless claims hit 4-year high. Why are jobless claims going so high? What's that have to do with Doge?
Because they're cutting money and expenditures. And when they're doing that, they're also cutting jobs. And initially, there's a lot of jobs coming out of the federal government, and that literally at a period of time when they were doing all the information on hirings and employment, a lot of that were people that were going to work for the government or arm's length relationship with the government. So because of all of these cuts, there's a lot of people losing their jobs, being in banking, not as much as most of the service industries that service the federal government. These people are being cut back, and they are literally losing their jobs, and it's not going to get better for a while. I think unemployment is going to continue to be an issue until there's some sort of turnaround that we've all been told is going to happen, if it does.
If it does. All right. Trump sends tariff letters to more than 150 countries. Tell me your thoughts on this, please.
Well, it's clear right now Trump is using tariff as a means of cracking the whip. The only thing I believe, and I was talking about it with the president of our company and one other guy who's a pretty well-known gentleman, who used to be the governor of Arizona, and we were sitting back and chatting, and I said, when you look at all these things right now that are happening, you've got to say to yourself, what's the reasoning behind this? What's the plan? What's the strategy? And you really look at you, and you can't come up with anything. It's literally somewhat disturbing when you see that Trump's position is tariffs, because we talked about the fact that all three of us were talking. I said when Trump first came in the office the first time, he blindsided everybody with tariffs. He blindsided China. He blindsided Mexico and Canada. All these countries literally got caught off guard. They didn't get caught off guard this time. They saw it coming. And that's why it's not working as quickly as we hoped, because Canada didn't capitulate right away. Europe didn't capitulate right away. Russia isn't running scared. These other China didn't run scared. These other countries are, he's cracking the whip, but I'm hoping that this whip is really good, because if it isn't good, it's going to backfire in a huge way. That's the big thing he's using, and hopefully it works. Right now, it hasn't. It hasn't worked.
All right. So again, people need to protect their assets. If they want to find out how to put gold in their IRA, worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com. And look, it works very simply. Let me just go over there real quick, show you how it works. Worldview and then gold.com. There it is. See, you can actually read all about it. Go to the bottom of the page. And then there will be a form you can fill out, hit submit, and you get a free, no obligation packet of information in the mail. And again, closing, where are you at? Gold price still for the end of the year, and silver price, please.
$4,250 and $50. 4,200 gold, $45 to $55 silver.
$45 to $50 for silver.
And gold, 4,200. I agree with the guy who was the president of UBS Bank, called for $5,000 gold, not this year, but within the next 12 months.
Really?
And that's one of the largest banks in the world. So that's pretty
And
impressive.
what will be the driver of that?
Because gold is money, and countries don't trust paper, and you've got all this digital stuff
So it won't
going
be
on
being
right
driven
now.
by so much by inflation, but by demand?
By demand, and also people questioning the new monetary order. They are not comfortable with the new monetary order. You talk to a guy who's 75, 80 years old, a younger guy than me, because I'm about 7,000. And at the end of the day, you love that, Brandon. At the end of the day, these people sit back. They don't understand crypto. They don't understand digital. They just have money in their bank and all this. And all of a sudden, somebody's going to tell them, you got staple coins, you got this, you got that. Do you honestly think they're going to feel comfortable with that? The world is not as much ready for this as much as the monetary people are trying to push it. We got to be very careful of what we wish for, because it might come back to bite us. That's why it's so important to have your old gold bank, because if you don't, you put yourself at major risk. And that's why we keep saying it, and some people aren't paying attention. And when you do, you'll pay attention and you'll pay us more. You'll call up and say, I've been talking to you guys for 2 years and I never did anything. We get that right now.
I bet you do. All right, worldviewgold.com. Michael Weiner, have a great weekend, my friend.
Thank you. You too. Good night, Dolly. But everybody loves Harley. Everybody wants to see Harley pictures. I'm bringing them.
There you go. We want to see. All right. Thank you, Michael.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. And folks, we, as always, appreciate you being here with us each and every night. And I'll be back Sunday night, as I'm teaching on the book of Revelation chapter 18, verse 1, this coming Sunday night, worldviewtube.com at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. So as we go tonight, folks, remember, we're brought to you by you. Check out all these great organizations and products and companies we work with. Please become your own pharmacy. Get worldviewhealthcare.com. Get your antibiotics if you need them. When you need them, if you can't get them, it's going to be a bad problem. So be your own urgent care. Get that. So much there. Don't forget about our history channel, worldviewtube.com/history. We've got our home and health channel, which is worldviewtube.com/health. We also have a prophecy channel. There it is, worldviewtube.com/prophecy. Tell all your family and friends about these additional channels, folks. And again, thank you for your support through our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. All right. Thanks for being with us as always and for supporting us, praying for us. Hey, don't forget, get your pack of 20 business cards and pass them out. The family and friends, let them know about a great network called Worldview Tube. You can get those free business cards at worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. And again, I'll be back, Lord willing, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern Standard. Revelation chapter 18, verse 1. Until next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.
You are watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brandon House.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brandon House.
And welcome. Glad you are with us on this, I don't know, what is the date today, guys? The 18th? The 18th of July, 2025. Glad you're with us. I got to have Dr. Woods on here for our Friday update, and then Aaron Lavarco is going to check in a little bit here and give us an update on what's going on in the Middle East. But I gotta bring up, I read this on TV the other night, but I got to share this again because this is just too funny. All right, this is a gal that emails in here, and I don't see every email that comes in, but they try to alert me to every funny one. They try to keep me from seeing the bad ones, but they definitely want me to see the good ones. That's a nice team I got working here for me. This one's hilarious. Now, she goes by Joan of Arc. I think the Arc is Arkansas, but I could be wrong. And I read this on TV the other night, but before we get started with the serious topics, It's always fun to have a little humor in our life, right? Laughter is good for the soul, good for the spirit. So Joan writes, hello, Brandon. Wanted to share a Culver's moment with you. Culver's, for those who don't know, is a restaurant. They're really pretty popular in Wisconsin. I don't know, maybe they're also in Arkansas.
It's headquarters.
It's headquartered in Wisconsin, Dalton says?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, no wonder there's so many up there. I think there might be some in Arkansas. I don't know. This is Joan of Arc, A-R-K, and I think she might be from Arkansas. So maybe there's some in Arkansas. I don't know. But she says, I want to share a Culver's moment with you and about you. And when they showed me this, I'm like, really? Culver's? What's going on? I didn't realize there's a connection about me with Culver's. But apparently, here's what went down. She says, I was waiting at my table for my order when I noticed a couple coming in. The wife was wearing light-colored jeans and a jacket similar to mine. Now, this is where you better pay attention. Okay? The wife, in other words, folks, was wearing pretty much the same thing Joan was wearing. It was Brandon hour. So I had my cell phone propped up on the table. I got up to get napkins and noticed a man watching your show on my phone. So apparently he went over to the empty table thinking that was his wife that had gotten up, and he sits down and he starts watching my program. I didn't mind so. I just stood by him, listening to the show. Shortly, he said, without looking up, where did you find this show? This guy is great. You didn't tell me you'd found a program like this. At that point, he looked up and he said, you're not my wife. I replied, no, but I don't mind you watching. Your wife, though, is still sitting down there. Your wife is sitting down there at another table, seemingly wondering why you are visiting with me. We both laughed, and he thanked me regarding your program. Another viewer, Brandon. Now, I said back, that's amazing. I want to know what show. I asked her what show was he watching? I want to know I'd like to know what he reacted to. What was the topic in the program that day he was reacting to? So I did ask her that, but I don't think she replied back. I did ask her, did you tell him about Worldview Tube? And she says back, what? Three question marks. Did I tell him about Worldview Tube? I'm your biggest fan. Of course I told him. And then she says, not to worry, he's hooked. I keep your cards in my pocket, my car, and my purse. I love your shows, your dialogues, especially the night that I had JJ on the other night. Oh yeah, showing the picture of you and your granddaughter sitting in your lap of that person of questionable identity, meaning me, because I was wearing a ball cap and sweatpants and pretty cash. But she keeps our cards. For those who are wondering what she means, I keep your cards in my pocket, my car, my purse. We give out free cards, double-sided. They're free for that very reason. And Joan of Arc rose to the occasion, and she had them to give to the guy. So you can get a pack for free as well at worldviewstore.com. But I love this story. Now, Joan, I hope she'll answer me back, because I really want to know what we were talking about, because here's the guy that comes upon the program, as you read. Oh, she said you can't. I didn't understand what that meant. All right. She said, you can't tax my brain that much as to the program content. Incident was a few months back. Okay, so I've given her so much information, she can't remember. Well, I would love to know what I was talking about, just simply by way of figuring out what is it that would cause someone who's never heard about the program, to say, whoa, wow, where'd you find this guy? I'd like to know what it was we were discussing that got him so intrigued. That'd be very educational from our perspective for us, right? So anyway, I just thought that was a fun story, all right? I've been eating at a Culver's a few times. I think they have pretty good roast beef, or mashed potatoes and roast beef and gravy, don't they, Dalton? I think they do. Am I mistaken? I thought I got mashed potatoes and gravy.
Might have.
Dalton says might have. Logan says cheese curds. Why? Just because it's in Wisconsin, Logan? Are they known for their cheese curds, Dalton?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he says, oh, yeah. All right, well, maybe I didn't get a mashed potato and gravy there. Maybe I just got a hamburger. But I do remember eating at one. In Wisconsin, nonetheless. Or it could have been Illinois. We were doing a long stretch through Illinois, getting up northern of Illinois. I don't remember. But I do remember eating at one. Because we had the motor coach parked outside. I remember that. All right, joining me now, it's important topics here, folks. Important topics. We got to start out with a little humor, and thanks to folks like you passing out the cards, telling everybody about the program. And look, people are looking for truth. They're looking for context, reason, logic. And here's this gentleman stumbles on the show thanks to Joan, and is like, where you been hiding the show? Where you been? I didn't realize you found a new show like this. So folks, don't be afraid. Some people can handle the truth. They want the truth, and they'll listen, and they'll digest it. Others don't. That's fine. That's up to them. All right. Joining me now is Dr. Andy Woods. Dr. Woods, have you ever eaten at a Culver's?
I don't think so.
You're missing out.
Well, I've eaten at a lot of places, as is probably self-evident. Probably so many of them I don't remember the name, but how's that for an answer?
Yeah. Okay, so is that you texting me that, Logan, or is that Tamara? Tamara's listening to the show right now? He says, Culver's is known for frozen yogurt and for their buttered buns. Butter buns. All right, I did not know that. Frozen yogurt. I didn't know that. Like I said, I've only maybe eaten there maybe once, twice, once. I think I had a hamburger now I think about it. All right, there you go. I love talking about Babylon. I like talking about Babylon. Dr. Woods and I, of course, have been very consistent saying Babylon means Babylon. And Dr. Woods, I just finished up Revelation chapter 17. I'm now in Revelation chapter 18. And starting Revelation chapter 18, verse 1 on Sunday night. So I love talking about Babylon because I believe in the Bible, I trust the Bible, and I just wait for the Bible to be fulfilled. Others are like, no, it can't, that has to be New York. You know, they have to figure out some other reason why it's what the Bible says. You and I know, we just keep saying, we're going to stick with this. And we've been doing this a long time, even before we knew each other. And sure enough, Babylon is rising. So I want to go right away to those. Here's an article. Iraq Railway Project. Of course, Babylon about 58 miles south of Baghdad, Iraq. Iraq Railway Project gets $930 million boost for trade and jobs. And it's just one of many articles today on Babylon rising. Dr. Woods?
Well, I mean, you know, ever since I've come of age as a Christian, and I was taught, fortunately, by a man named Dr. Charles Dyer at Dallas Seminary, you know, that basically made the case in class when I had him for Old Testament prophets. You know, he just said Babylon means Babylon. You know, there's no reason to allegorize the word Babylon, as many people do. And so when I began to move that direction, you know, the counter argument I heard was, well, Babylon is really not an economic powerhouse. It's just kind of a tourist type area. It's landlocked. So the maritime imagery, you know, that we see in Revelation 17 and 18, you know, can't be fulfilled, you know, through a literal understanding of those prophecies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just kind of filed those objections in the back of my mind. And the truth of the matter is, the longer we progress this direction, the more those objections don't stand up to what's happening. I mean, Babylon is being transformed into a maritime city, and it's being transformed into an economic powerhouse. And that's what this railroad project demonstrates. It's what the Al-Fa port system, which is supposed to allow merchants to circumvent or get around going through the Suez Canal, which is going to go right through Babylon. That's what that project is going to bring into existence. And so, we're sort of getting to the point where these kind of dated, trite, hackneyed arguments that Babylon is not an economic powerhouse, Babylon is landlocked, Babylon is not a maritime city, those objections are disappearing. And that's why every time I see something like this in the news, I grab it, I put it in my script for my own prophecy updates, and I want to bring it to people's attention because they used to say the same thing about Israel. Oh, you can't take Israel literally in prophecy. Don't you know there's nothing over there but desert? And boy, things have changed, haven't they? Look at Israel today, and she's the center of worldwide controversy and has a gross domestic product that's greater than her neighbors. And so it's kind of interesting how people that took God at his word end up being vindicated. I'm suggesting the same thing is now happening with Babylon.
Mm-hmm. Here's another one. Iraq Development Road, a game changer for global trade. The article says that Iraq's groundbreaking $17 billion development road project is emerging as a strategic alternative that could eventually reshape Eurasian logistics. You and I have talked about the Fa port many times, Dr. Woods. As global shipping reels from regional instability and choke points like the Suez Canal, Iraq is quietly redefining its role in international trade. The nation's development road project, $17 billion infrastructure corridor, it's US dollars, stretching from the Grand Fall port in southern Iraq to the Turkish border, is emerging as a strategic alternative that could eventually reshape Eurasian logistics. So groundbreaking is the scheme